Chapter 1806. Just right, this time I'll return his fire rod to him. This thing that has been strengthened is one of a kind in the world of immortal execution. If nothing goes wrong with Ghost Lee's strength, even if he faces the immortal execution sword formation, he can do whatever he wants. At the same time, I'll bestow some cultivation and let them distribute it themselves. Wang Feng did not intend to bestow too much. After all, he did not need the latter to become his clan tribe, as long as the power bestowed was appropriate. At the same time, world of immortal execution in the grotto. As Ghostly set up an altar around the blood pool, he chanted the great Tao God summoning chapter. In an instant, the grotto emitted 1,000 rays of light. The flowing blood pool, as if there was no gravity, began to float. Even the 4 mythological beasts in the blood pool also floated along with the blood. Ghost King and Mr. Ghost at the side opened their eyes wide. They saw a giant screen of light across the grotto, descending on the edge of the sky. That is, Ghost King was greatly shocked. He completely could not feel how great that light was, could only feel the slight aura emitted by that light, as if it could destroy the whole world. The power of the 4 spirits' blood formation, compared to it, was like a firefly compared to the stars. The difference was too big. Ancestor God? Ghost King's throat moved, looking at his daughter. For a moment he was speechless. He then glanced at Mr. Ghost at the other side. Even if he was wearing a black robe, his specific appearance could not be seen, but he could see the shock in Mr. Ghost's eyes. At this time, as the blood pool gradually disappeared, the boundless blood flew into the light. As the divine light filled the air, the 4 ancient mythological beasts, as if bearing the power of the divine light, suddenly, as if they were reborn, they emitted excited cries. Almost on the verge of death, at this moment, in the divine light, they were reborn from the fire. Among them, the biggest change was that black water mystical snake, almost left with only its body. In the divine light, it was revived in the blink of an eye, and shed its skin. 2 horns grew on its head, from a snake to a dragon, emitting a supreme majesty. This scene caused Ghost King and Mr. Ghost's heart to tremble. At the same time, in that light there seemed to be a bloody black divine light, like a stream of light descending, standing upright in front of Ghostly. At the same time, a ray of divine light fell on Ghostly's body, condensing into 10 light nuclei. A sacrifice merit. Bestow a heaven's spiritual treasure. Cultivation of 60 years, you can distribute it. The calm voice, the light, gradually. Ghost Lee's pupils constricted as he looked at the fire stick floating in the air. Isn't that I offered to the ancestor God? Ghost Lee's hand ghost. Unlike before, there was only a cold touch. This magic treasure was a combination of the ancient magic staff, soul catcher, and the blood-devouring pearl. It was originally an extremely evil magic treasure. It was able to absorb large amounts of blood and recover from its injuries. There were also many other wonderful uses. However, if this magic treasure was used for a long time, it would easily affect one's mind. At the same time, it would also cause a lot of damage to one's body. Ghostly knew that because he cultivated the heavenly tomes, he was compatible with the cultivation methods of Buddhism, Demon, and Taoism. That was why he could barely use this item. However, at this moment, he could only feel that this magic treasure seemed to have been cleansed and strengthened by some mysterious power. When he held it in his hand again, there was no tearing sensation like when he used it. Instead, there was only a gentle and majestic feeling of power. A strange energy flowed from the staff to his entire body, nourishing his body and making him stronger all the time. In the world of immortal execution, among the grades of magic treasures, Ghostly had never heard of acquired spirit treasures. But from the name, it was obvious that this was a very powerful level. At least, not in this world. I didn't expect that the ancestor God didn't want my treasure. Instead, he strengthened it, Ghostly sighed in his heart. Come to think of it, how could an existence like the ancestor god possibly need his own magic treasure? Moreover, with the identity and status of a universe-enlightened ancestral god, he'd lowered himself to strengthen a magic treasure used by a cultivator like Qin Shi. This was already a display of extreme importance to Qin Shi. As for the remaining 60 years of cultivation, that was 600 years of cultivation. To Ghostly, it was not as important as this soul-devouring staff. Ghostly turned around and looked at Ghost King. He chuckled. Do you believe me now? With his current strength, even if the Four Spirits blood array was still there, he was not afraid of the Ghost King. He could even defeat them easily. Both of them were silent and speechless. No one would believe such a thing if they had not seen it with their own eyes. But now that they saw it with their own eyes, they felt like they were dreaming. Ancestor God, Ghost King murmured, his eyes flashing. That power that he had never seen before made him yearn and fanaticism. The ancestor God has no interest in the struggle of our world. Ghostly said indifferently. I also don't want there to be any struggle between good and evil in our world. Ghost King, now that you've seen a higher level of power, are you still interested in the struggle of this world? Ghost King remained silent. The cultivation bestowed by the ancestor god is not important to me. Ghostly looked at the 10 light cores in his palm. These were obtained by sacrificing the Four Spirits blood array. I don't need them. You can have them. With that, he threw the 10 light cores in front of Ghost King. You. Ghost King looked at Ghostly with a complicated expression. Zhang Xiaofan, I didn't expect that after so many years in my Ghost King sect, you're still the same Zhang Xiaofan. Ghostly smiled and did not say anything. Ghost King thought for a moment and said slowly. The ancestor god will be the god that my Ghost King sect believes in from now on. Ancestral realm. I've harvested another large wave of power of faith. I didn't expect that Ghostly's sacrifice this time would have such great benefits apart from the Four Spirits blood array. Wang Feng nodded slightly and counted the gains of this trip. Not to mention the Death Spirit blood array that contained the power of Azura, he also obtained 4 ancient divine beasts of the immortal execution world. The ancient divine beasts had some bloodlines with the demonic beasts of the primitive universe in the primal chaos. With a little nurturing, they could also become overlords in the ancestral realm and reach the level of a saintly clan. There was also the power of faith of Ghost King sect. The current Ghost King sect had destroyed most of the demonic sects in the immortal execution world. Among the demonic sects, it was one of a kind and very large. This large wave of power of faith was not small. Ghost King sect is mostly demonic and heretical cultivators. The color of the power of faith produced is also mixed with a bit of gray and black. This means that the power of faith produced by faith is mostly impure. That's true. Wang Feng was not worried about this. As long as he needed to use the Chaos Green Lotus to enhance it, the power of faith would still be of great use. With this batch of continuous power of faith and the power of faith I've stored these days, I should be able to start opening the third reincarnation. Wang Feng pinched his chin and thought. After all, with suitable blood and power of faith, the first batch of creatures of the Azura realm can be created. Chapter 1807. The Azura path controlled the order of killing and was fearless of heaven and earth. In the vision of the 9 paths of reincarnation, the ancestral realm's 9 paths and 9 clans each had their own characteristic. The Azura path was also the Azura clan. In Wang Feng's vision, it controlled the order of killing and was not afraid of anything in the world. It was fearless and good at killing, brave and good at fighting. He wanted to create such a race. Special materials were needed. From the flesh to the choice of blood, it could not be similar to the human race or the monster race. The human race was the easiest to create because the conditions were not harsh. Moreover, it was extremely inclusive. Because the monster race had the primordial creature pattern inside the chaos spell, It was equivalent to having the genetic code engraved. As long as those patterns were input into the primordial origin, it could be created relatively easily. However, the other races had harsher conditions compared to the other races. Fortunately, this batch of blood and power of faith met the conditions to create the Azura realm. It's not suitable to use the ancestral realm's living soil for the Azura's body. However, in the Dark Demon realm, the demonic earth nurtured by the Dark Demon Chi is very suitable for the Azura. The Dark Demon Chi itself was a very powerful energy, but it was biased towards negative energy. For example, the soul demons of the Dark Demon realm were affected by the Dark Demon Chi. Most of their bodies were very powerful, but their minds and souls were biased towards darkness. This kind of darkness had no distinction between good and evil. It was just a pure energy nature. Of course, dark energy was ultimately dark energy. Over a long period of time, it would naturally affect the souls of living beings who absorbed the Dark Demon Chi. Using the demonic earth of the Dark Demon realm and the living soil of the ancestral realm can be used to create the Azura clan's body. The blood in the Four Spirits blood formation has been enhanced by the Chaos Green Lotus. I can achieve the effect I want with the help of this batch of Ghost King Sex faith power. The combination of the three should be able to create the Azura I envision. Wang Feng thought as he arrived at the Hell World. The two rays of light behind the Sea of Bitterness were like gates that connected heaven and earth, shining with divine light. The establishment of the Azura path of reincarnation still needs a batch of faith power. Wait a moment. I'll go to the Dark Demon realm first. Wang Fengxin's heart moved. With a flick of his finger, he tore open the void and entered. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the region of the Dark Demon world. I haven't been here for a while, but the Dark Devil world hasn't changed much. It seems like the number of wormholes has increased slightly. Wang Feng shook his head. Other than that, the number of demon gods in the Dark Devil world was also rapidly increasing. For a great world that was already on the right track, its development speed was indeed quite fast. However, compared to the current ancestral realm, it was much, much slower. When the ancestral realm's 9 paths are established, I'll connect all the living beings in the universe to the ancestral realm and make them work for me. That's not a bad idea. Wang Feng pondered for a few seconds. The ancestral realm corresponded to the former primitive universe. The upper limit of the laws wasn't a universe-level life form. Instead, it was a boundless universe that covered an extremely wide area. For such a large world, it was very difficult to break through the upper limit of universe-level life forms. Devil lands were everywhere in the Dark Devil world. This kind of soil that contained Dark Devil Chi was very difficult to grow all kinds of plants. Therefore, the resources in the Dark Devil world were extremely scarce. However, there were several realms in the Dark Devil world, and the quality of the Devil Earth was not the same. Wang Feng went directly to the Clear Sky Palace to find Yan Qingjue. Using the authority of the Dark Devil world's heavenly Tao, he could easily obtain the soil of the Dark Devil world's 9 realms. You want the Devil lands of the Dark Devil world? Yan Qingjue was quite puzzled. However, it was quickly solved. You plan to create the Azura path? Yan Qingjue was clear about the concept of the ancestral realm. Wang Feng didn't hide it from her. After all, he had told Yan Qingjue about the plan of the chat group back then. Wang Feng nodded slightly. Just using the devil lands of the Dark Devil world should be very difficult to create your ideal Azura race, right? Yan Qingjue thought for a moment. It seems that you've prepared all the materials? Of course, she didn't think that Wang Feng would only use the devil lands to create. At most, he would use the devil lands as a material. Wang Feng's idea of the ancestral realm was extremely vast. The ancestral realm was equivalent to his god domain. Every race he created was his clan, and in the future, they would participate in the God System Universe's God Wars. Naturally, he couldn't just casually create them. Wait for a moment, I'll bring you a portion of the devil lands of each realm. Yan Qingjue closed her eyes and seemed to be summoning the other 8 realms. By the way, how's the situation of the chat group? According to my plan, 2 more members might join the group in a few days. Yan Mengyao was usually the one observing the situation of the chat group. Although she was nominally the leader of the chat group, most of the time she was looking for suitable members for Wang Feng, to ensure that Wang Feng could quickly obtain a large amount of faith power. The chat group, Wang Feng thought for a moment. It should be good. Yan Qingjue glanced at Wang Feng. She didn't care much about the chat group. Basically, other than pulling people in, she didn't appear in the chat group. Therefore, she basically didn't know what happened in the chat group. And Yan Mengyao didn't take the initiative to report, so she didn't know the specific situation. But hearing Wang Feng's words, it should be good. Actually, I have a question, Yan Qingjue suddenly asked. The idea of the chat group is not bad. Compared to the wormhole here, the speed of collecting faith power will be faster, but no matter how fast it is, it will be difficult to establish a god domain in 100 days, right? This Azura realm should be the first ancestral realm that you established, right? With this speed, your god domain might not have completed the basic reincarnation cycle on the day of the god battle. How will you fight the gods from the god system universe? This was actually the question that Crimson Godfox Emperor had before. The members of the chat group were all pulled in by her. Therefore, she was very clear about the worlds behind those members. Even if all the worlds of the group members were added together, the faith power produced would probably be very limited. Wang Feng smiled and didn't explain much. I'm keeping you in suspense. Let's talk about it when the god battle starts, Wang Feng said. But I can tell you that the Azura realm that has been established is already the 3rd reincarnation cycle. The 3rd one? Yan Qingjue was stunned for a long time. Even if she didn't have a very detailed understanding of the god system universe, she felt that it was quite impossible. But since it came from Wang Feng, it was reasonable that he wouldn't lie to her. Naturally, the fewer people who knew about the amplification of the Chaos Green Lotus, the better. Yan Mengyao was the heavenly Tao of the ancestral realm. The development of the ancestral realm couldn't be avoided. Naturally, it was impossible to hide it from her. However, Yan Mengyao and her body of faith had a subordinate relationship. Naturally, she wouldn't speak carelessly. Even if Yan Qingjue was the main body that created her. Not long after, the 9 portions of devil soil were sent over. Chapter 1808. Right, there's one more thing, Yan Qingjue coughed twice. Are you talking about Bibidan and the others? Wang Feng seemed to know what Yan Qingjue wanted to say. I already know, Bibidan told me personally. They left because of their own choice. Thinking up to this point, Wang Feng sighed. All of a sudden, his confidence left just like that. Naturally he didn't feel good about it. Luckily there was more. That, it's not just them. Yan Qingjue said softly. Wang Feng looked suspiciously at Yan Qingjue. That, other than the few from the god world, the silver dragon left too. Maybe she didn't tell you. Yan Qingjue said. Wang Feng was stunned, his expression changing. The silver dragon left? Doesn't that mean there's no one left in the god world? Crimson God Fox Emperor wants to take away all the women by my side? Wang Feng squinted his eyes. Yan Qingjue opened her mouth, wanting to say something but stopped. Forget it, I know. Wang Feng waved his hand. You want to say that Crimson God Fox Emperor did it for my own good? She's right, but to use such a method to deceive them, I can't accept it. Wang Feng snorted coldly. Crimson God Fox Emperor said there was a way to make them all become universe-level lifeforms. Wang Feng didn't believe it. She herself was a universe-level lifeform with an incomplete universe willpower. How could she have a way to make others a universe-level lifeform? And she was so generous to want to help his confidant. No, it might be true. Yan Qingjue said softly. Wang Feng looked at her in shock. Was it so easy to become a universe-level life form? No, it wasn't an easy matter, it was a matter of luck. Wang Feng had walked his own path, even though becoming a universe-level life form was a matter of course, with the Pangu Axe's will and the inheritance of Origin Calamity Godly Emperor. However, in truth, he had gone through a lot to reach where he was now. And, even now, wanting to help Bibidan and the others become universe-level life forms was an extremely difficult thing. It's hard to say for sure. Yan Qingju thought for a moment and said, Red God Fox Emperor said that many factions in the Divine System universe had some problems, which led to the outbreak of faction wars at the edge of the Divine System universe. Many sky gods died, and the will of the universe left the Divine System universe and fell into the native universes. Hearing this, Wang Feng understood. Coincidentally, in the universe where Crimson God Fox Emperor is in, there are several powerful universe willpower energies. Even though they are all incomplete, they are all opportunities for the native universe to become a universe-level life form. Yan Qingju explained. However, Wang Feng frowned slightly. If that's the case, I'm afraid that even the Crimson Divine Fox Emperor himself would not be safe. No, it's safe. Although the godly system universe was sending out gods to search for the lost wills of the universe in the various native unit universes, the godly system universe was still in a state of chaos. However, the will of the universe is very difficult to detect. Yan Qingjue said. That's impossible. Wang Feng shook his head. Although the will of the universe is special, it's impossible for it not to be detected. Furthermore, since it was a god from the godly system universe that died, the will of the universe there would definitely have left an aura imprint. It would be very easy for the godly system universe to find it. No. Yan Qingjue said slowly. Crimson God Fox Emperor said that if it was in the past, it would be like this. However, this time, it's different. What's different? Because, this time, there is a branch origin of the will of destiny mixed in with the origin of the will of the universe. It covered all the aura and imprints of the incomplete will of the universe. Even the godly system universe would not be able to detect anything. Hearing this, Wang Feng was slightly stunned. Ancestral realm. Wang Fengxin returned with a face full of thoughts. The will of destiny. In the current multivariate universe, among all the known wills of the universe, the will of destiny was the most mysterious and powerful. Not to mention the will of destiny, even the many branches of the origin of the will of destiny were mysterious and unpredictable. They were all very difficult to obtain. Back then, Crimson God Fox Emperor had said that if he cultivated the primordial wheel-time soul, he would be able to touch the main origin of the will of destiny, the karma origin. It could be considered an opportunity related to the will of destiny. However, now that Wang Feng had cultivated the primordial wheel-time soul to great success, he had slightly touched the karma origin. However, if he wanted to comprehend it, he still needed some time. One could imagine how mysterious the will of destiny was. Collecting his thoughts, Wang Feng started to create the Shura race. The 9 portions of demonic soil had different qualities. Wang Feng pondered for a moment. He took a bit of each demonic soil and merged it with the living soil of the ancestral realm. A piece of blood-red soil appeared in Wang Feng's palm. The soil had a faint evil aura, but it also had the gentleness of the living soil. Then, Wang Feng started to use the soil after the 9 portions of demonic soil to create a body. From a genetic point of view, Wang Feng was writing a genetic program for the Shura race. If the body is brave and aggressive, then the body can be a weapon. The 4 limbs and 5 senses can be used as weapons. Using the human body as a model, the 4 limbs contain powerful destructive power. 4 limbs might not be enough. I might as well make it 3 heads and 6 arms. Wang Feng pondered for a moment. 3 heads and 6 arms would increase the cost of materials. But Wang Feng didn't care. He only needed to create the first batch of Shura race and let Yen Mengyao control the development of the ancestral realm. He would have an endless supply of power of faith to ensure the speed of the race's reproduction. Moreover, the first batch of Shura had to be very powerful. Unafraid of heaven and earth, the Shura race must have a powerful demonic eye. Once the eye opens, they will not fear the might of any other race. Moreover, the demonic eye will contain different kinds of mighty power and provide different kinds of help to the Shura race. Wang Feng pondered for a long time. The Shura body was gradually completed. As long as he had the first body, Wang Feng would repeat the same process and create dozens of such bodies. Inject the Shura blood. Wang Feng injected the blood from the four spirits' blood formation that had been strengthened by the chaotic green lotus into the dozens of bodies. The moment the blood was injected, Wang Feng's eyes flickered. When the blood flowed into the dozens of bodies, an enormous rhythm of life vibrated from the bodies. After being enhanced by the Chaos Lotus, the blood has become so powerful. It has a high compatibility with the body. Looks like I was right. Wang Feng took a deep breath. When the blood fused into these bodies, it was as if the genetic code written by Wang Feng had been activated. In an instant, these bodies began to produce earth-shattering power. Next, I'll inject the power of faith into the bodies and create souls for them. Because the Shura race was special, there weren't many of them. Wang Feng took a portion of the purified souls and injected it into the bodies. Together with this special batch of power of faith, it's done. Dozens of pillars of light shot into the sky and hit the sky of the ancestral realm. End of chapter. Chapter 1809. Wang Feng looked at the dozens of light pillars and immediately ordered, Yen Mengyao, send them into the Azura path of reincarnation. They were still in hell. If they wanted to enter the ancestral realm, they had to go through the 9 paths of reincarnation. Now that the Azura was formed, its physical body and many abilities had been written like a genetic code. All that was left was to send them into the 9 paths of reincarnation. Then they would enter the ancestral realm. Okay. Yen Mengyao was already prepared. She could send the Azuras wrapped in the light pillars into the newly established Azura path of reincarnation. Now, the Azura path is on the right track. Wang Feng let out a long sigh of relief and immediately returned to the ancestral realm. At this time, the stars in the sky of the ancestral realm seemed to be turning upside down. A light curtain like an aurora emitted a faint blood-colored light. It seemed that some powerful life form was about to descend. The awakened demonic beasts looked at the blood-red aurora in the sky with a solemn look in their eyes. On the human side, the leaders of many tribes also looked at this scene with confusion and shock in their eyes. Such a powerful life force. I hope the ancestral god will protect us. Low murmurs spread among the human tribes. The blood-red laser gave them an innate sense of foreboding. They didn't know what kind of powerful life form would appear and what kind of danger it would bring to the human race. Wang Feng and the ancestral realm looked at the blood-colored laser in the sky. Dozens of halos fell like meteors. They were the dozens of Azura spirits he had created. They had descended on the ancestral realm through the Azura path of reincarnation. As expected, the Azuras created by using all kinds of materials are much stronger than demon beasts and humans. If I can find the 9 scrolls of the Book of Ian that descended on the ancestral realm and find the correct cultivation method, their strength will probably increase. Wang Feng was quite satisfied. However, he didn't leave and continued to watch. He waited until the halos falling from the blood-colored aurora slowly disappeared. The Azuras began to breathe in the ancestral realm. These born Azuras were born with powerful innate consciousness. Almost as soon as they woke up, every single Azura knelt towards the sky. They didn't kneel to heaven and earth, but to the ancestral god who created them. Wang Feng smiled faintly in the sky. Since you are Azuras, let's test it out. Let's see how strong you newborn Azuras are, in the chat group. Ghostly uploaded 2 videos. Ghostly. Everyone, from now on, I am also a believer of the ancestral God. If there is a need, we can help each other. Let me introduce myself. I come from a rather ancient, immortal Dao world. I am a cultivator. Fan Yi, you can't be of the ancestral God. The eternal pieces pie. That's very similar to my side. We also have cultivators here. For example, I'm going to meet this old man from the Shushan sect. Ghostly, where can you fly on your sword? 2. The eternal pieces pie. Then, are there real immortals in your world? Previously, I met a red-haired man. He said that I was General Fei Peng from the divine world. What a joke. I am just a pie shop worker. What General Fei Peng from the divine world is here? This is too ridiculous. Using old brother Fan Ye's words, that red-haired man is too chunibu. Even the divine world is here. I really have to hand it to him. Ghostly. Little friend, I think that what he said might be true. Since your world is also an immortal Dao world, there must be a superior world. It is normal for there to be a divine world. Fan Yi, I agree with Ghostly's words. It might be true. Also, I have a feeling that the flag you set up is very likely to be true. Let's not talk about it anymore. My situation is urgent. I am really being chased by a huge crocodile. My life is in danger. If I am not around, remember to help me burn a few incense sticks at this time every year. Everyone. 2. She Ancient Emperor Jade. Fan Yi, at this time, don't you know how to summon the ancestral god? Fan Yi. Damn, if you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. Wait, I will summon the ancestral god immediately. Borrow 10,000 years from the heavens. Ghostly, you are also from the immortal Dao world? What is your identity? What is your status in that world? Don't tell me that you are also a little friend? Oh right, how did you become a believer of the ancestral god? Oh, there is a video, let me take a look. Ingzheng seemed to be answering his own question. Ghostly. Well, my status is not important, right? I'm just an ordinary cultivator. 2. She Ancient Emperor Jade. Those who say that they are ordinary are definitely not simple. Brother Yen said so. Supporting cheeks. JPG. Ghostly, cold sweat. JPG. Actually, Ghostly didn't really want to appear in the chat group. But when he thought about it, since he had already joined the group, it was better for him to come and greet them. However, there seemed to be a few believers in the group who hadn't become the ancestral god yet. They were all quite friendly. Borrow 10,000 years from the heavens. Ghostly, not bad. I didn't expect that the descent of the ancestral god would only revive a person. You are quite lucky to be able to summon the ancestral god like this. That little friend and Fan Yi, I don't know how many times they chanted, but the ancestral god didn't descend even once. 2. She Ancient Emperor Jade. This might be because Ghostly has deep feelings for the woman who was revived. So when he chanted the scripture, his faith was very strong. The ancestral god felt emotional and thus descended. This is definitely not good luck. Borrow 10,000 years from the heavens. I can't understand the feelings of children like you. Love and love are all fleeting clouds. But Ghostly, I think your status isn't low. Alright, do you have any cultivation secret books or something like that? Can I borrow them to take a look? The main thing is that we are studying the power of the stars. Although we have made some progress, we don't have any detailed cultivation methods. We can only rely on the soldiers to try. Once they make a mistake in their cultivation, this soldier might be crippled. From what I see, your world and the little buddy's world are somewhat similar to mine. Perhaps the cultivation manuals on your world are also somewhat useful to us. Hearing this, Ghostly thought for a moment. If it was any other time, he naturally wouldn't agree. But now they were all believers of the ancestral god. Even if it was for the sake of the ancestral god, he had to agree. Moreover, through the video, Ghostly also understood the world of this 10,000 years brother. Now that it was in the stage of development, its future potential was limitless. Ghostly, there is, but it might not be suitable. Maybe it can be used as a reference. After saying that, Ghostly uploaded some simple cultivation methods of the Ghost King sect, as well as the Buddhist and Taoist sects to Yingzheng. He cultivated the 3 cultivation methods of the Buddhist, Demon, and Taoist sections. He comprehended many of the secret techniques of these 3 sects by chance. Chapter 1810. It wouldn't be a problem for him to take out some now. Borrowing 10,000 years from heaven, thank you. If you need anything in the future, just tell me. To She Ancient Emperor Jade, 10,000 years. Why don't you ask about the cultivation manuals of our world? Borrowing 10,000 years from heaven, what kind of battle chi is there in your world? It has nothing to do with my great Qin. It doesn't sound reliable at all. Moreover, the power of the stars was bestowed by the ancestor god. It's a waste to use your battle chi cultivation techniques to cultivate it. To She Ancient Emperor Jade, what do you mean? Are you looking down on battle chi? When I become a battle emperor and break through the void, I will request the ancestor god to go to your world and give you a good beating. Borrowing 10,000 years from heaven, ha ha ha, I'll be waiting. Ghostly laugh. The world that 10,000 years was in was indeed somewhat similar to the world he was in. It was just that the level of civilization of mortals was somewhat similar. This 10,000 years was also very respectful of the immortal Tao. Thus, he wanted to find a suitable cultivation technique to cultivate the power of the stars from the cultivation manuals he had here. As for the To She Ancient Emperor Jade's world, the difference in civilization was huge. It was obvious that 10,000 years didn't agree with him. It wasn't that he was looking down on it. Speaking of which, Ghostly was most curious about the world that Fan Yi was in. He had just watched the video again. It was clearly a future world without any aura of the immortal Tao. However, 9 dragons pulling a coffin appeared and pulled this group of friends into the universe. It was truly mysterious and vast, causing one to have endless fanciful thoughts. At this moment, Yi Fan didn't have much time to think about it, because he was currently frantically fleeing with a group of classmates. Behind them, there were abyss-like shadows. They were like hands that were rushing towards them. He had a gathering with his classmates on Mount Tai and was pulled into this mysterious area by the 9 dragons. Then, he found an ancient temple in this mysterious area and obtained many treasures from the ancient temple. Because of the ancestor god's hint, he obtained several unique ancient Buddhist treasures. It was also because of these ancient Buddhist treasures that he was able to survive until now. In the shadows behind him, a ferocious giant beast was faintly discernible. Based on his understanding of many ancient books, Yi Fan guessed that the giant beast was the crocodile ancestor. It was said to be the evil spirit that was suppressed by the ancient Buddhist sect. Now that the ancient temple had disappeared, he, who had been suppressed, had reappeared. If we didn't take away those ancient Buddhist treasures, this monster wouldn't have come out, Yi Fan sighed softly. The karma of heaven and earth was difficult to determine. After a few more breaths, the few students who did not obtain any ancient treasures were swallowed up by the shadow. Seeing this, Yi Fan gritted his teeth. If he chanted the great Tao God summoning chapter now, would the ancestor god descend? He looked behind him. In the distance was the place where the 9 dragons descended. Perhaps if they returned to that place and used the 5 colored altars there, they would be able to reactivate the 9 dragons and bring them to another place to escape this place. However, there were bound to be casualties along the way. But these ancient Buddhist treasures will eventually come to an end. Although most of these students have an ordinary relationship with me, and I have no obligation to save them, but... Yi Fan looked at the ancient bronze lamp in his hand. This was a supreme treasure of the Buddhist sect. In that case, Yi Fan believed that saving a life was better than building a 7-storied pagoda. Otherwise, it would be impossible for that ancient Buddhist treasure to shine so brightly in his hands. Thinking up to this point, Yi Fan suddenly stopped in his tracks. When the other students saw this, they looked at him in shock. Yi Fan, why did you stop? Hurry up and run. A burly male student next to Yi Fan shouted loudly. I don't want to run anymore. Yi Fan shook his head. If we continue running like this, there won't be many people left even if we reach the place where we landed. The burly male student was so angry that he laughed. Yi Fan, I really have to hand it to you. Don't tell me you still want to care about their lives? We're classmates and you've already shared some of the ancient Buddhist treasures with them. Don't tell me you still want to block that ugly crocodile all by yourself? Why didn't I, Pangbo, realize that you're so awesome in the past? Although the burly male student was cursing, he stopped in his tracks. He walked toward Yi Fan. However, the students behind the two of them did not stop in their tracks. Save them? Yi Fan shook his head and said, I want to block that crocodile, not to save them. It's because of these ancient Buddhist treasures. Pangbo was stunned. However, he immediately understood Yi Fan's thoughts. They unintentionally obtained these ancient Buddhist treasures and turned the Great Lane Temple into ashes, which led to the release of the crocodile ancestor. Naturally, this crocodile ancestor had an inseparable relationship with them. If we run like this, who knows how many living beings will die because of this crocodile, Yi Fan slowly said. If we don't seal it again or kill it here, I won't be able to take away these ancient Buddhist treasures with a clear conscience. That's true, but with our strength. Pangbo coughed twice and said, Yi Fan, I support your idea in spirit, but in reality, we should run now. When we become stronger in the future, we'll come back to deal with this crocodile. You should understand such a simple logic better than me, right? That's right. Under normal circumstances, I would think so. However, now, Yi Fan smiled. There's a chance now. We can't deal with this crocodile, but there's someone who can. Who? Pangbo looked left and right. The shadow in the distance was already very close. It might only take a few seconds for it to completely devour them. Do you believe in gods? Yi Fan said in a low voice. In the past, I was a complete atheist. I know. If it was in the past, I wouldn't believe in God. Pangbo thought for a moment. But now, Yi Fan took a step forward. Now, I don't believe in gods anymore. Boundless shadows surrounded him. In the shadows, the crocodile ancestor that was as huge as a curtain opened its bloody mouth. In the shadows, it almost ignored the light emitted by the ancient bronze lamp. It was about to devour Yi Fan. Pangbo's heart was beating wildly. His blood seemed to have frozen at this moment. He looked at Yi Fan at the side. However, he could only see a mystical light shining on Yi Fan's face. In the next moment, a pillar of light shot up into the sky from Yi Fan's body. It dispersed the surrounding light and shot into the dark sky. It seemed to have opened a gate beyond the heavens. The majestic light emitted boundless majesty from the gate beyond the heavens. The world seemed to have become still at this moment. Pangbo suddenly took in a breath of cold air. It really worked. Yi Fan opened his eyes and looked at the side. He was extremely excited. The ancestor god has descended. No, what is that? At this moment, Yi Fan was slightly stunned. The ancestor god didn't seem to have descended. There was only a faint light figure. Yi Fan felt that it might be the ancestor god. But what was that gate beyond the heavens? However, in the next moment Yi Fan saw it clearly. The gate opened. Mysterious warriors with bodies as huge as mountains walked out from the gate. They emitted extremely powerful killing aura that caused the world to tremble. Chapter 1811. Where's the ancestral god? Yi Fan looked at the heavenly gate in the clouds and muttered, What are these warriors with 3 heads and 6 arms? The mysterious warriors that came out of the heavenly gate seemed to have come from ancient times. They were majestic and indescribable. Their bodies were covered with a faint layer of blood cocoon that looked like armor. It covered their entire body, leaving only their 3 heads and 6 arms exposed. There was a blood-red slit in between their eyebrows. It looked like a third eye that was about to open. It was extremely mysterious. Yi Fan counted. There were only about 50 of them. Yi Fan, what are these? Pang Bo asked in a low voice. He did not dare to breathe. This was because he realized that the crocodile ancestor seemed to be attracted by this scene. It originally opened its mouth to attack Yi Fan, but it stopped the moment the light pillar rose and lit up the sky. It opened the heavenly gate. Then, it immediately turned around and looked at the sky as if it was facing a great enemy. I don't know, Yi Fan shook his head. But I think it should be related to the ancestral god. It might be sent by the ancestral god. The moment he finished speaking, among the many mysterious warriors, the 3 warriors at the front stepped on the void and charged towards the crocodile ancestor like giants who could hold up the sky and catch up with the sun. Roar! In the shadows, the crocodile ancestor, which was also huge, suddenly let out a roar. It seemed to be fearless as it went forward. We encountered it. Pang Bo held his breath. This crocodile ancestor doesn't seem to be afraid at all. Those mysterious warriors that came down from the heavenly gate don't seem to be much. From the previous signs, this crocodile ancestor was a powerful demon that was suppressed by the Tempest Temple. If it was on Earth, it would be a disaster. Although they were not sure what this crocodile ancestor represented in this unknown world, it was definitely powerful and invincible. It should be, Yi Fan thought for a while and said hesitantly, it should be. The main reason was that Yi Fan did not see the ancestral god descending. He was unsure. Logically speaking, it should not be. The other few in the group had the ancestral god descending personally. Why was there no sign of the ancestral god when it came to him? Damn! It was at this moment that Pang Bo suddenly exclaimed. Yi Fan subconsciously looked over, and his eyes immediately widened. As the crocodile ancestor swam forward, the heavens and earth trembled as its shadow followed it. Its aura was monstrous. But in the next moment, the 3 mysterious warriors raised their hands and hammered down on the crocodile ancestor. The crocodile ancestor was naturally very confident in itself. Plus, it had never seen such a mysterious warrior before. It didn't know the origin of this mysterious warrior, so it couldn't sense the latter's specific strength. However, even the Buddhists of the past could only suppress him. Now, why would he be afraid of these warriors of unknown origins? As he roared, several fists smashed toward the crocodile ancestor. Almost at the instant of contact, the crocodile ancestor's expression changed. A power that seemed to be able to destroy the stars hammered down from the fist. In just one exchange, the crocodile ancestor felt as if its entire body no longer belonged to it. Who are you? The crocodile ancestor let out a low roar that was mixed with a majestic spiritual vibration. Bang bang bang! However, the 3 mysterious warriors locked onto the crocodile ancestor from 3 different positions. Their giant fists hammered down like a storm. Every strike was accompanied by the sound of a planet exploding. Yi Fan and the others couldn't help but cover their ears. Fortunately, the Buddhists' ancient treasures on their bodies emitted a faint and gentle light that could slightly reduce the damage caused by the sonic boom. However, the crocodile ancestor's head was smashed, and its entire body was a bloody mess. In just the blink of an eye, the shadow was mostly smashed, and it was on the verge of death. The crocodile ancestor didn't expect that these mysterious warriors who walked out of a spatial gate would have such powerful combat strength. Their aura clearly didn't even have a basic cultivation realm. However, just the power formed by the combination of their physical body and blood chi was already so powerful. They were even stronger than the crocodile ancestor. What a monster! Wait, I surrender, I surrender. Not long after, the crocodile ancestor let out a low roar. It was not easy to get out of the Great Lane Temple. He thought that his good days had just begun. He, the crocodile ancestor, didn't want to be hammered to death by these mysterious warriors. Wouldn't that be too unfair? Aren't they too King strong? Pang Bo pushed Yi Fan's shoulder and said excitedly, "Hammering that crocodile is like hammering your own son. I think one of you can hang this crocodile up and beat it up. With the three of you together, TSK, the crocodile's skin and flesh are torn apart. It's simply too horrible to look at." It was more than just too horrible to look at. Every time Pang Bo hammered the crocodile, it looked like he was using a hammer with nails to hammer an ordinary animal's skin and flesh, directly hammering a bloody hole. Blood splattered everywhere. Seeing the crocodile ancestor crying out like a pig that was about to be slaughtered, one could imagine how terrifying each punch of these mysterious warriors was. These must be divine weapons sent by the ancestor god. Yi Fan's spirit shook. The ancestor god didn't personally descend, but I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Looks like this crocodile is not worthy of him making a move. I'm ashamed. As he said that, Yi Fan's face was filled with shame. He thought to himself that he had really embarrassed the majority of the members in the group. When someone called the ancestor god down, it was either to crush a planet, to enlighten living beings, or to revive hundreds of thousands of soldiers. In his case, there was only this crocodile, and the ancestor god was too lazy to make a move. Although the ancestor god responded to me, compared to what the other members of the group are facing, mine is simply child's play. No wonder the ancestor god is too lazy to make a move. Yi Fan thought for a moment and couldn't help but shake his head. There was no other way. Compared to the people in the group, he was too far behind. Only the young man was like him, ordinary and unremarkable, an ordinary person. But the young man's words before probably really could be the reincarnation of some General Fei Peng from the divine realm. An ordinary person is actually me? Yi Fan slightly clenched his fist. I can't let the ancestor god down. Yi Fan looked at the crocodile ancestor that had been hammered into a pulp and was on its last breath. He thought very firmly in his heart. Not only for the ancestor god, but also for myself. I have to become stronger. So what if I'm an ordinary person? At this moment, Wang Feng could actually hear the voice in Yi Fan's heart. Because, to a certain extent, just now was the moment when Yi Fan generated faith. This future celestial emperor Yi was equivalent to temporarily becoming his believer. An ordinary person. Wang Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The dignified sacred body of the ancients was indeed an ordinary person. If he was King ordinary, then the children of destiny of the various worlds in the group were all inferior to ordinary people. Fine, Wang Feng pondered for a moment. According to the normal progress, it won't take long for Yi Fan to become a celestial emperor. Plus the flow of time. No, I still have to speed up. Since I'm here, if he grows up according to the normal path, it'll be too slow. Chapter 1812. There were many small worlds in the shrouding sky world, and the time span was very long. In terms of faith power, it was very large. However, the power level of this kind of world was very high. Even the fake gods of the divine system universe did not dare to try. Only those above the heavenly god level would dare to try to conquer this kind of world and collect faith power. At present, Yi Fan had not entered the eastern wilderness and had not touched the edge of this world. Wang Feng naturally wanted to speed up Yi Fan. Of course, he would not rush things. After thinking for a while, Wang Fengxin had a plan. Speaking of which, the Azura's combat power is not bad. Wang Feng muttered to himself. As the crocodile ancestor was beaten into a muggle by the three Azuras created by Wang Feng. Of course, Wang Feng saw it clearly. Wang Feng could still feel the strength of the crocodile ancestor. In the shrouding sky world, it was an expert below the great saint level. In the multiverse, it might not be weaker than the demon lord of the dark demon world. As for the newborn Azura, he could beat the crocodile ancestor into kneeling and begging for mercy with just his physical body. His strength was evident. This was the result of him not cultivating and only relying on the strength of his physical body and demon eye. Seems like he has a high starting point. I did not waste my efforts to create him. Wang Feng looked at the Azuras with some satisfaction. What was the concept of newborn? It was equivalent to these Azuras being in the infant state of humans. They could defeat the crocodile ancestor. Most of them had already awakened and knew what they were doing. They also knew that it was him, the ancestor god, who had asked them to come here, to make the crocodile ancestor their opponent. But other than that, he knew almost nothing. Not bad, not bad. The more Wang Feng looked, the more satisfied he was. Compared to the human race and the beast race, the Azura's strength might not be comparable. After all, the human race and the beast race had appeared for a while. But soon, they should be on par with the other two races. As for the future development of their strength, it would depend on their own luck and what kind of great Tao they comprehended from the 9 volumes of the Book of Ian. At the same time, let's go. That crocodile is dying. Yi Fan, let's leave here quickly. Pang Bo suddenly came back to his senses and said loudly, "Wait." Yi Fan shook his head. "Ancestor God, I can't just leave like this." Yi Pang Bo thought for a moment and said, "What you said makes sense, but even if you want to repay the favor, now is not the time, right? Besides, the warriors sent by the ancestral god are so strong that they don't need you to be in such a hurry to repay them." Yi Fan pointed at the ancient bronze lamp in his hand and said, "I'm talking about these ancient Buddhist treasures. Since the crocodile ancestor has already been killed by those mysterious warriors, why don't you take them? In that case, there's no point in keeping these ancient Buddhist treasures in my possession. I want to offer them to the ancestor god to express my sincerity." To the ancestor god, Pang Bo asked, "That makes sense. What do you want to do?" Yi Fan placed the ancient bronze lamp in his hand into the light pillar beside him. Then, after thinking for a while, he took out a seed-like object that was emitting a green light and handed it over. It was the Bodhi seed that had fallen from the Bodhi tree under the great thunderclap temple. Yi Fan felt that it should be very precious, but he had no use for it now, so he might as well give it away. They are all worldly possessions, Yi Fan thought. 2 beams of light rose into the void along with the light pillar. It was as if he had entered the heavenly gate in the clouds. Yi Fan looked at it, wondering if the ancestor god had received it. After a while, the heavenly gate shone brightly. Yi Fan widened his eyes. He saw that the Bodhi seed did not enter the heavenly gate. He directly fell from the sky. However, the moment it fell, a divine light flew out from the heavenly gate. It directly hit the emerald green Bodhi seed. In the next moment, the Bodhi seed immediately emitted a bright light. Then, it began to germinate and grow rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it grew into a palm-sized Bodhi tree sapling. As it fell slowly, the sapling gradually grew. When it landed in Yi Fan's hand, it gradually took shape. This is... Yi Fan's eyes widened as he watched in disbelief. A majestic energy was being emitted from this special Bodhi tree. Every time it breathed, it seemed to be able to breathe in a huge amount of energy that could contain heaven and earth. Yi Fan, what's going on? Pang Bo was also dumbfounded. I don't know, Yi Fan looked serious. Maybe the ancestor god didn't like it and returned it to me. Returning it to you? Why did it change so much? Pang Bo was stunned. This, Yi Fan thought for a moment. Brother Ingzheng seemed to be the same back then. I'm ashamed. The ancestor god is really too good to us believers. Yi Fan sighed. He gave me a Bodhi seed and returned a Bodhi tree to me. From the looks of it, this Bodhi tree is definitely not ordinary. At this moment, a majestic voice sounded in Yi Fan's ears. This tree will be of great help to your future cultivation. You can keep it in your soul. There's no need to show it to outsiders. Otherwise, you'll regret it and cause a lot of trouble. That was the ancestor god's voice. Yi Fan replied excitedly, "Thank you, ancestor god." After saying that, Yi Fan quickly stared at the Bodhi tree. However, after thinking for a while, he did not know how to keep it in his soul. Until a few drops of blood accidentally dripped onto the Bodhi tree in his palm because of the minor injuries he suffered. With a thought, he kept the Bodhi tree in his soul. "Yi Fan, I've decided." Pang Bo patted Yi Fan's shoulder. "From now on, the ancestor god is our common belief. Great ancestor god, please give me some treasures too. I'll definitely be your loyal believer." "Get lost." Yi Fan scolded with a smile. "You're not sincere at all. When I was on Earth, I prayed for the ancestor god for a long time. It's not as easy as you. Even if you're a believer of the ancestor god now, it's not that easy to get the ancestor god to descend. Do you think the ancestor god is a cat or a dog? You want the ancestor god to descend and give you treasures with just one sentence? Get lost." "Damn, you didn't even put in that much effort," Pang Bo retorted loudly. Yi Fan coughed a few times and said, "I'm different. I've been fooling around for a long time. The ancestor god is very familiar with me. Ancestor god, when I become stronger in the future, I'll definitely repay you." Yi Fan looked at the divine gate and thought to himself, "Ancestral realm. With that Bodhi tree, Yi Fan's sacred body of the ancients should be able to progress rapidly." Wang Feng rubbed his chin and pondered. The Bodhi seed was of limited use to him. Even if it was enhanced by the chaotic green lotus, it could only slightly change the energy density of the ancestral realm when placed in the ancestral realm. However, if he gave it to Yi Fan, it would be of great use. Yi Fan's sacred body of the ancients required a large amount of cultivation resources in the early stages. Otherwise, his progress would be extremely slow. After the Bodhi tree was watered by his divine power, not only would it bear fruit, but it would also nourish a large amount of spiritual chi of heaven and earth to nourish the sacred body of the ancients. At most, Yi Fan's sacred body of the ancients would be able to achieve initial success in a few years. It would take a few decades for it to reach full completion. When that time came, it would take at most a few hundred years for him to become an emperor. He had to make the best use of everything. When the time came, Yi Fan would give him a lot of resources. That would be inexhaustible. Wang Feng was very far-sighted. The little things at the moment would not be of much help to the ancestral realm. Unless it was a special Genesis sacred artifact like the Pangu axe or the chaotic green lotus. However, Yi Fan and the others could not come into contact with such a level of sacred artifact. It would be very difficult to come into contact with it even if it was a few levels lower. Otherwise, they could only rely on quantity, such as a large amount of the power of faith, special blood, and a large number of resources to be of some help. In the chat group, Fan Yi said, "Everyone, I'm back. I declare that from now on, I'm also a believer of the ancestor god." End of chapter. Chapter 1813. In the chat group, To She Ancient Emperor Jade. Congratulations, Fan Yi. You have seen the ancestor god too? The world cannot betray me. What a joke. You are just an ordinary kid. The ancestor god is really letting you off easy by making you a believer. Tell me what happened. Fan Yi. Brother Chow, I don't like what you are saying. So what if I am ordinary? Can't an ordinary person become a believer of the ancestor god? Furthermore, from today onwards, I might be able to cultivate too. Borrowing 10,000 years from the heavens. Fan Yi, you can cultivate too? Did the 9 dragons pull you to another world? Fan Yi, yes. The 9 dragons pulled me to this place was called Mars in ancient times. It is also Mars, another planet. Now that the crisis has been resolved, I plan to leave this place. Oh right, I didn't see the ancestor god. To She Ancient Emperor Jade. How did you become a believer if you didn't see the ancestor god? Fan Yi, the ancestor god didn't descend. He only sent some warriors to help me resolve this crisis. After saying that, Fan Yi uploaded a video. The rest of the group members downloaded it and watched it. Not long after, shocking news came one after another. 2. She Ancient Emperor Jade. From the aura of that crocodile, I can tell that it is very strong. It is not much weaker than the top experts here. The 3-headed and 6-armed warriors sent by the ancestor god are too strong. They used their fists and bodies to defeat the crocodile so easily. Shocking. JPG. Xiao Suner was too shocked. The ancestor god had never sent any warriors before. Usually, he would personally descend. She didn't expect that not only did he not personally descend, he even sent some mysterious warriors who were so powerful. Xiao Sun didn't doubt that if those mysterious warriors came to their world, they would be able to destroy the entire Battle Chi continent easily. 2. She Ancient Emperor Jade. I feel that us believers are so weak. I feel that we are relying on the ancestor god to retreat, Fan Yi. Indeed, no one in the world can betray me. It is indeed very terrifying. Furthermore, those warriors did not reveal any other abilities from the beginning to the end. They only used their physical strength to easily kill that crocodile. If that crocodile was placed in our world, the top warriors should be able to fight against it. If we use profound techniques to plan, we can also kill it. But it's impossible to kill him so easily. We believers, the tip of the iceberg was the whole picture. At this moment, Cao Cao was thinking about how great the ancestor god was. Were all the warriors they sent this strong? His strength was immeasurable. On the other hand, it could be seen that Fan Yi had transmigrated to a very powerful world. Otherwise, that crocodile wouldn't have appeared, a powerful creature of this level. Also, the tree that the ancestral god bestowed upon this brat is definitely not an ordinary tree. Cao Cao shook his head slightly. The ancestral god is so good to his believers that I have nothing to say. However, it can also be seen from this that Fan Yi is definitely not an ordinary person. There must be a reason why the ancestor god thinks so highly of him. I thought that I had unified the chaotic world and had countless armies in my hand. Among this group, no one could be compared to me. As a believer of the ancestor god, I have a lot of weight. He didn't expect the warriors under the ancestor god to be so powerful. The forces under the ancestor god's control were probably unimaginable. Cao Cao thought so. In fact, even Ing Zheng had the same thought. As the emperor, they were the first to think of this. The warriors they sent were already so strong, and there were only a few dozen of them. Only 3 of them actually fought. From this tip of the iceberg, coupled with the ancestor god's immeasurable majesty, it was hard to imagine how powerful the ancestor god was. In the group, 2. She Ancient Emperor Jade. I hope I can cultivate properly in the future and strive to be of some use to the ancestor god. Work hard. JPG. No one in the world can betray me. I'm afraid that's a little difficult. With the strength of these warriors, it's hard to be compared to them. Borrow another 10,000 years from the heavens, with the current strength of our world, it's indeed hard to be compared to them. But it's hard to say in the future. Our great Qin dynasty will definitely have many geniuses in the future. No one in the world can betray me, ha ha ha, that makes sense. Ghostly, in my opinion, the warriors sent by the ancestor god are all immortals. If it's our world, it's hard to catch up. But from another perspective, the ancestor god actually acknowledged us as his believers. It's also a form of affirmation for us. So, Fan Yi 2. She Ancient Emperor Jade. There's no need to belittle yourself. Fan Yi, I'm not belittling myself. It's just that this matter made me understand a principle. In the future, we can't casually summon the ancestor god. This kind of small trouble is too much of a bother to the ancestor god. Ghostly said, No, Fan Yi, you're wrong. With the ancestor god's benevolence and majesty, he won't care about this. The so-called small trouble is just a small trouble to the ancestor god. But to us believers, it's a matter of life and death. Indeed, we can't summon the ancestor god. But if we encounter a problem that's beyond our imagination and we can't solve it, we have to do it. Summoning the ancestor god is our only choice. Think about what the two Shi ancient Emperor Jade faced and the demons that the great Qin dynasty faced. It's not something we can solve with our own efforts. The so-called trouble is just a relative term. Fan Yi thought about this and felt that it made sense. Ghostly said, I think that the ancestor god sent these warriors because that crocodile isn't worth his time. At the same time, he wants us believers to understand his strength and give us a reference to stimulate our fighting spirit. Fan Yi, that makes sense. Ghostly, how do you know so much? Ghostly, because these days I've been thinking about the ancestor god's greatness. Yes, I've been trying to figure out the ancestor god. We're in different worlds and have different experiences. Naturally, we have different perspectives when looking at the ancestor god. To Shi ancient Emperor Jade, I understand. Ghostly, it seems that you've experienced a lot. Ghostly said, compared to the other two who are about to become emperors, my experience isn't considered much. People can't betray me. We've experienced a lot, but it's not as rich as your immortal Dao world. Don't be humble. Borrowing 10,000 years from the heavens. That's right. The immortal Dao is the great Dao that I once yearned for. You're a cultivator from the immortal Dao world. We're far inferior compared to you. On the other side, Wang Feng looked at the screen from the side and laughed secretly. He used the Azura race that he created to deal with the crocodile ancestor purely because he wanted to test their strength. As for the rest, he naturally didn't think too much about it. He didn't expect these guys to be able to imagine so much. Right? Why didn't Jing Tian come out? Wang Feng thought for a moment. The immortal sword world was quite important. Now the other worlds had entered the regular stage. Even Fan Yi had entered the regular stage. Only Jing Tian was left. If it was any other time, this guy would have come out to chat. However, he didn't appear today. Chapter 1814. Let's find a chance to take a look. Wang Fengshin's heart skipped a beat. He didn't sense any response from Jing Tian. Either something had happened to him, or he hadn't encountered anything strong enough to make him have faith in him and call out to him. No hurry. Wang Feng thought for a while. At this moment, Wang Feng suddenly sensed a strong voice transmission. It wasn't from someone in the chat group. It came from another universe. It's Carl? Wang Fengshin's heart skipped a beat. Before he left the God-surpassing universe, he found Carl. However, he didn't destroy him because of the sacrificial ceremony. On the contrary, he gave the fragment that contained the Star River's will to Carl. He planned to use Carl to study the Star River's will in hopes of luring Mo Tian's true body out. Wang Feng guessed that since Carl wasn't dead, the god of death would definitely contact him again. As for what would happen next, it was highly likely that the god of death would put Carl in an important position. Carl wasn't an ordinary person in the God-surpassing universe. He was several times stronger than the children of destiny. In the original work of the God-surpassing universe, he was the ultimate villain boss who schemed against Holy Kaisha and defeated her. Be it potential or strength, he was top-notch. He sent me a voice transmission. Could it be that Mo Tian's has appeared? Wang Fengshin's heart skipped a beat. Wang Feng didn't have high hopes that Carl would contact him. When he let Carl go and gave him the Star River's will fragment, he thought that if Carl could really study the fragment, Mo Tian's would definitely appear. As long as he appeared, he would have a chance to find him. After thinking for a few seconds, Wang Feng immediately deciphered the voice transmission. I see. After deciphering it, Wang Feng smiled. At the same time, God System Universe, Kilo God System. In the vast God System universe, Kilo God System wasn't ranked high. It didn't occupy a huge star field. However, there were 5 supreme gods in the God System. They were genuine supreme gods. Naturally, they were a faction that had a say in the God System universe. Supreme gods were above heavenly gods. The so-called heavenly gods in the God System universe were divided into heavenly gods of beginning calamity, heavenly gods of beginning wheel, and heavenly gods of Shi Liang. These 3 types of heavenly gods had different levels of strength, and were further divided into several tens of levels. At each level, the god realm that was rooted in one's own god realm was divided by the degree of development, the number of spawns, and one's own strength. Just the number of first-order heavenly god realm cultivators was so large. As for overgods, it was even harder to say. But in order to become an overgod, one had to fulfill a certain prerequisite. At the very least, he had gone through 1,000 initial wheel tribulations. The universe's lifespan was at least 100 million years old. His strength was hard to estimate. Therefore, having 5 supreme gods meant that this faction had the right to speak in the divine system's universe. The god of death, on the other hand, happened to be a heavenly god of the initial wheel. Moreover, he was a heavenly deity who had just passed the initial wheel cataclysm and should have enjoyed the fame and fortune of the initial wheel heavenly deity, as well as the benefits of the various factions. Moreover, he had a divine name. He was a heavenly god who had an official god system in the God System universe. But all of this was gone. If his divine soul was damaged, his divine domain would shake, and his will projection would be damaged. Without the will projection, it would be very difficult for him to maintain his heavenly god rank. Even those who had just passed the initial wheel cataclysm were restless, as if the second cataclysm was about to descend. The initial wheel cataclysm was the nightmare of all heavenly gods in the God System universe. He had just passed the first initial wheel cataclysm with great difficulty. In the God realm, the god of death's throne was purchased from the God realm at the center of the God System universe. It was built in the style of the Douluo divine system. His gaze was fixed on the void. He was just over 50,000 years old this year. He was tall and slender, with a handsome face. He wore a gorgeous black cloak, and a long sword that was as black as ink stood beside the throne, exuding an incomparably majestic aura. Outside the palace, the god of death had the appearance of a human. It was interesting to say that in the God System universe, human genes and appearance were the most popular. Perhaps it was because in the ancient history of the God System universe, one of the first few primal cosmos gods was an ancestor who preached the Tao to the universe with a human appearance. Later on, in the God System universe, countless gods followed suit. At the beginning of their birth, they had already prepared the appearance and genes of a human for their descendants. Of course, in the current God System universe, the appearance of a human was only one of the things that the gods liked the most. Not all gods liked the appearance and body of a human. Like the gods of the Douluo divine system, the majority of them had black robes as shadows and did not have a physical body. It was just that the god of death felt that such a body did not suit his aesthetic standard. Thus, when he became a god, he remolded a human body for himself as the body of a heavenly god. The eyes of the god of death were burning with flames. In the sky of the god realm, there were many cracks that resembled blood vessels bursting. It was extremely terrifying. That was the sign that the god realm had been shaken. If one wanted to recover by relying on his own godly energy, it would take at least 10,000 years in the universe. 10,000 years, even to a heavenly god who had passed the initial wheel cataclysm and had a lifespan of more than 100,000 years, it was an extremely long period of time. During this period, not only would they have to face other dangers in the god realm, they would also have to face the risk of their strength falling and having their god name snatched by other newly ascended heavenly gods. A god name was not something that could be casually obtained. Only after becoming a heavenly god would one be qualified to purchase a god name in the god system universe. Only after obtaining a god name would one be considered an official heavenly god in the god system universe. They would be protected by the supreme law of the god system universe. For example, pseudo-gods did not have a god name. Of course, some pseudo-gods with strong backgrounds could also get their families to purchase a god name in advance and be included in the register. For example, the enlightening god of the Dongwang divine system, who had caused a stir in the god system universe. A mere pseudo-god had a god name. Although the god of death was sure that his strength was definitely stronger than that pseudo-god, after all, he was a heavenly god. His status was different. The Dongwang divine system was only slightly weaker than the Luo divine system. However, the enlightening god was the leader of the younger generation of the Dongwang divine system universe. The resources and background that he possessed were not something that the god of death could compare with. That native heavenly god is so powerful. The enlightening god wants to trample on him and show off the power of the Dongwang divine system. How impressive! The god of death's eyes were cold. I heard that they even signed a holy scroll. The enlightening god wants to use this native heavenly god's ignorance of the rules of the god system universe to defeat him in a god battle. No matter how strong this native heavenly god is, he can't do anything about it. Otherwise, if he violates the rules of the god system universe, the supreme god of the god system universe will have enough reason to kill this native heavenly god. In this way, even other heavenly gods who have submitted to the god system universe will not be able to say anything. This god battle was actually very important. The native heavenly gods were a very special group in the god system universe. Over the years, the god system universe had swallowed many native heavenly gods universes in its crazy expansion and merged into the current god system universe. Unknowingly, the native heavenly gods had formed a group that could not be underestimated in the entire god system universe. Although it was not a big deal for the entire god system universe. In recent years, the upper echelons of the god system universe have been trying to assimilate these powerful and unique native heavenly gods. But they haven't found the opportunity. Now, they are secretly acquiescing to the god battle caused by the enlightening god, which implies this. The god of death murmured, "It seems that I have to find an opportunity." Chapter 18:15. Karl appeared in the void, wearing a black robe, which suited the style of the god of death's divine domain. "He wanted to use me to get information about my god," Karl said indifferently. "So, he didn't kill me. He wanted me to stay by my god's side as a spy." Hearing this, the god of death laughed. It was unknown if he was laughing at Karl or at someone else. However, he didn't know my god's rules. Karl said respectfully to the god of death, "I'm your god's descendant. I have no secrets in front of my god. I think my god has already noticed this." The god of death's smile gradually disappeared. He said calmly, "A native god is indeed a native god. He always wants to use their trick. You have my godly power imprint on you. I naturally know what happened." "Spy? Ridiculous." Karl nodded in agreement. Then, he continued, "By the way, that native god gave me something called a will fragment. My god, do you need me to give it to you?" "Will fragment?" The god of death frowned slightly. "This is a rare item. However, fragments are the most useless things. The complete will of the universe is a treasure that can only be found by chance. However, a will fragment is not very useful. Instead, if you want to comprehend the will within, it will only be incomplete. By then, you will definitely be cursed. The loss outweighs the gain. It is far less stable than the will projection of my divine system's universe. You can keep it for yourself." The god of death was not interested. That native god must have known this, which was why he casually gave the will fragment to Karl. He wanted to use Carl's ignorance of the universe's will to bribe him. However, this was too naive. Did he really think that just because he destroyed one of his will clones, he, the god of death, would not know anything? Since he's a spy, the god of death's face showed a hint of ruthlessness. Carl, find a chance and secretly tell that native god that I'm seriously injured and recuperating in the divine domain. Then send him the coordinates of the divine domain. Carl looked at the god of death and said slowly, My god, you want to destroy that native god? The god of death was obviously not his match. Then, there was only one possibility. Humph. The god of death said coldly, You just became my descendant and know too little about our divine system's universe. Kill this native heavenly god? I don't dare to. Now that the battle of the gods had begun, this local god could only be killed by the Qiming deity of the Donghuang divine branch. If the other heavenly deities dare to attack this native heavenly deity and disrupt the higher-ups' plans, I'm afraid they're tired of living. Carl was silent. Those who could become heavenly gods were naturally not simple people. You don't need to understand my intentions. Just let him come. The god of death glanced at Carl and said indifferently, Do you understand? Carl nodded and disappeared into the void of space. The god of death looked at the shattered divine domain and murmured, I can't kill the native heavenly gods. However, since I'm going to participate in this and get a share of the loot, I'll weaken his strength to ensure that the Qiming god can defeat him successfully. At the very least, I'll get a share of the loot, right? That was what he thought. Native heavenly gods could not be killed. There were less than 70 days left before the awakening god would light up the divine fire. Judging from the current situation, that native heavenly deity could only be killed by the awakening deity. In this way, those native gods would see the huge gap between themselves and the divine system, and most of them would take the initiative to join the divine system. They were sucked in. In this way, the goal of the upper echelons would be achieved. However, that native heavenly god is very powerful. If I want to weaken his strength, I can't do it alone. I have to call a few more heavenly gods to prepare. With that native heavenly god's confidence, he will definitely come. Even if he knows that this is a trap I set for him. Native heavenly gods were mostly proud and powerful. They had their own system. They stood out in their own universe and cultivated to become heavenly god. They were indeed extraordinary. 4 should be enough. Wang Feng obtained the coordinates of the god of death's divine domain from Carl. Pinching his chin, Wang Feng thought for a moment. Carl didn't say anything else. Looks like this is a trap. Fine, let's go take a look. The divine domain of a god of the divine system, Wang Feng had never seen one before. It was a good opportunity to see what the divine domains of these gods were like. The ancestral realm could also be used as a reference. Moreover, this god of death was a genuine heavenly god. Divine domains were very valuable. With the coordinates of the divine domain, Wang Feng could easily find the location in the universe with his current ability. After explaining to Yan Mengyao, Wang Feng did not use his body of faith to go there. This body of faith was too special. When the other party saw it, they would know that he must have a divine domain. Wang Feng did not want to expose this yet. He did not want to expose the strength of the ancestral realm. Placing the body of faith in the ancestral realm, Wang Feng used the yin-yang intersection origin that he and Shi Yu cultivated together, as well as the heavenly embryo will to create a second body. He traveled through the void and arrived at the divine domain of the god of death. In the divine domain. This is the divine domain of the god of death? It looks tattered. Wang Feng looked at the vast land of the divine domain. The divine domain was vast and the sky was broken. Wang Feng guessed that this was formed after the god of death's will clone was killed by him. The divine domain was closely related to the gods. Any change of the gods would affect everything in the divine domain. Except for the sky, the land was dark. There was not much vegetation, and even mountains and rivers were very rare. Most of the land was barren. So King Desolate Wang Feng sighed. The god of death was a heavenly god, but his divine domain was like this. Of course, this might be the style of the Crow divine system. Anyway, Wang Feng could not appreciate it. However, he could indeed feel a lot of life aura from this divine domain. But most of the life in this divine domain does not seem to be much. There are not even many wild species, not to mention the holy species. Wang Fengxin secretly thought. His fake god opponents all had holy species. Not only that, but there were also spiritual paragons, and the species in the god of death's divine domain were too weak. The sky is broken, and the suppression of the rules in this divine domain is also very weak. Wang Feng shook his head. The god of death dared to set a trap for me in this state. It seems that he has a powerful helper. At this time, Wang Feng saw Carl. Long time no see, how have you been? Wang Feng asked casually. Carl narrowed his eyes and did not answer. He could not figure out this person. In the divine domain of the god of death, you seem to understand your situation? Carl said. Wang Feng smiled, looked around and said, Divine territory, just here? Let's not talk about anything else. Just the size of this divine domain, Wang Feng could know with a thought. Chapter 1816. The approximate area was about the size of 10 suns in his previous life. 10 suns seemed to be a lot. In fact, some great worlds could also reach this level. But the god of death was a heavenly god of the divine system universe, and the size of his divine realm was only this scale. It was not comparable to others. It was probably worlds apart from the ancestral realm. And the size of the divine realm was the most basic standard to measure the divine power of faith a god had. Since Wang Feng condensed the body of faith, and with the increase of the Chaos Green Lotus, the ancestral realm had expanded many times. His divine power of faith was far, far greater than the god of death's. And it was just the quantity. The other was the concentration of energy. The energy of the god of death's divine realm was inclined to the dark demon chi of the dark demon world, which was a death energy with dark attributes. So Wang Feng felt that such a regional appearance was normal. However, the energy concentration was too inferior. It was only slightly better than the dark demon world. Compared to the spiritual chi concentration of the ancestral realm, the difference was like heaven and earth. As for the life of the clan tribe, Wang Feng smiled and looked at the many undead creatures in the tombs in the divine realm, smiling without saying a word. It was not that they were not strong. Those undead creatures were the dead collected by the god of death from many universes and placed in his own divine realm to nurture and create. They had a certain potential. But obviously, the god of death took the modern cultivation path of the divine system universe. He did not spend time to create clan tribes in the divine realm, and almost all of them were controlled by divine power imprint. Those undead creatures were probably created by the god of death out of boredom. Or he used the dead bodies of creatures from other universes as materials. Wang Feng estimated that if he brought the humans of the ancestral realm over, he could directly crush these clan tribes of the god of death into ashes like chopping melons and vegetables. Carl frowned slightly and said, You will be suppressed by the rules of the divine realm in my god's divine realm. Even if my god was injured by you before, you can't exert all of your strength. Why are you still so confident? All of my strength? Wang Feng laughed a few times. Do I need to exert all of my strength to deal with a few clowns of the divine system universe? Clowns. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zichen's voice fell. In the void, several light shadows gathered. 4 majestic god shadows descended on the horizon, exuding endless majestic light and divine power. What a native heavenly deity! A cold divine voice rang out. There seemed to be chains condensed from endless rules in the sky, shrinking between the sky and the earth, shrouding towards where Wang Feng was. The pitch-black chains were covered with countless ancient runes, as if they possessed the rhythm of life. Blood gushed out, carrying the power of faith of trillions of lives. Carl immediately disappeared. These were the shackles of the god of death's divine domain. Different god realms had different rules and shackles. Instead, it was used to restrain the enemies who had entered the divine territory. Moreover, these shackles were condensed from the power of faith, and they couldn't be broken through normal means. Unless it could bear the faith of the god of death, which had gathered all the faith of the god of death's clan. Even gods of the same level wouldn't be able to withstand it. Carl then looked at the three beside the god of death and remained silent. Clearly, he was the helper that the god of death had found. They were probably all heavenly gods. Their attire was somewhat similar to that of the god of death. They were heavenly gods of the same divine system. One of them was only a shadow and didn't even have a physical body. It was the most special. As for the other two, they were both in human form. Wang Feng glanced at it. He was indeed a heavenly god, because they all had the aura of the universe's will. Interestingly, the aura of the universe's will on them was very special. How should he put it? It was very empty. Wang Feng frowned slightly. In the divine system universe, the universe's will wasn't a mandatory condition to become a heavenly god because it was too rare. Instead, it used the projection of the will, but it also had the ability of most of the universe's will. Wang Feng hadn't noticed it when he was facing the clone of the god of death. But now that he saw the true body of the god of death, he could sense it. The other three heavenly gods weren't true bodies. Like the god of death, they were all will clones. The gods of the divine system universe generally wouldn't leave their divine realms with their true bodies. Seeing the rule chains coming at him, Wang Feng didn't dodge, as if he didn't even have the intention to dodge. If you have other skills, hurry up and use them. Wang Feng said casually. I know that you don't dare to kill me. But you don't dare to kill me, and you even lured me here. Do you want to teach me a lesson? To vent your anger? But if you want to teach me a lesson with your tattered divine realm, it might be very difficult. As for the helpers you called over? Speaking of this, Wang Feng paused. Rotten fish and shrimps. As soon as he said this, the aura of the three heavenly gods beside the god of death changed immediately. I've heard of the arrogance of native heavenly gods many times, but this is the first time I've seen it. An extremely handsome young heavenly god with a fair complexion smiled. His face was somewhat pale, and his pupils were light red. Earth Spirit God, what do you think? As he spoke, his body emitted a faint bloody aura. However, this bloody aura didn't have a fishy smell. Instead, it had a rich and unique fragrance. Blood Spirit God. Wang Feng narrowed his eyes, feeling that this god might be a treasure. He sensed the bloody aura of countless living beings from this god's body. Blood was a necessary condition for the creation of living beings. He might not know what he's about to face. Another god beside the god of death said with a smile. He was the Earth Spirit God. This god's appearance were one level higher than the god of death and Blood Spirit God. He had an extremely dense and majestic aura, and his strength might be one level higher than the god of death's. Crow's Earth Spirit God. Wang Feng roughly knew the gods of the Crow divine system. Their gods would have the word spirit in their names. Generally, gods with the word crow in their names were the gods of the Crow divine system. The so-called gods of the Crow divine system were the outstanding gods of the god factions under the supreme god. The gods of the Crow divine system were mostly the elite gods of the various factions. This god was the strongest, and Wang Feng's perception was also the strongest. This Earth Spirit God emitted a boundless and dense aura of the earth. Wang Feng looked at the last god. He was in the shadows, and his appearance couldn't be seen. However, Wang Feng had a feeling that this god might have the highest status and the strongest god. Whether it was the god of death or the other two gods, they all seemed a little nervous when they looked at this god. This god might have a powerful background. Even Wang Feng couldn't sense any aura from him. Supreme God. Wang Fengxin's heart suddenly jumped. Impossible. The Supreme God had an extremely high status in the God faction universe, and he wouldn't appear easily. Even if the Earth Spirit God was a god of the Crow Divine System, who knew how many gods of the Crow Divine System were directly under the Supreme God? How could he possibly follow them? Unable to figure it out, Wang Fengxin secretly became vigilant. Chapter 1817. In the deity plane, Wang Feng was bound by the chains of laws. However, his expression did not change. The primordial origin had been activated. Halos spread from Wang Feng's forehead to his whole body, analyzing the chains of laws. The chains contained the will of the god of death's universe. It was the most powerful and least costly method in the deity plane. This was not an exaggeration. Wang Feng did not know much about the projection of the will of the deity system's universe. Therefore, he planned to analyze it through the chains of laws. Who is this god? Wang Feng continued asking. The process of analyzing the primordial origin would take some time. Naturally, Sui Xiong planned to talk to these gods first. They did not know about the primordial origin. At most, they thought he was struggling. You are not qualified to know, the god of death said lightly. After that, he turned his palm slightly. In an instant, the deity plane shook and emitted a bright light, surging toward Wang Feng. The two of you, this guy is far more powerful than this. Although he is bound by the chains of laws, I'm afraid he has been scheming for a long time. The god of death immediately said to the other two gods, It's not that easy to destroy half of his strength. Let's do it. If we delay too long, there might be changes. We have already sent the news to the Donghuang Divine System. The Donghuang Divine System has promised us that if we can destroy half of this native god's strength, they will guarantee the victory of the deity war. They promise to give us at least 3 pieces of Cosmos God crystals, 10 pieces of Saint-grade God seeds, and many high deity realm fragments. The god of death said in a low voice. Hearing this, the eyes of the other two gods lit up. The Donghuang Divine System is really willing to help. The god of blood laughed. They are even willing to give away Cosmos God crystals. This deity war is indeed very important to the Donghuang Divine System. Of course, a few days ago, I heard from a supreme god that several primordial gods in the upper echelons of the deity system's universe are observing this matter. The god of earth said proudly, the upper echelons must want to take this opportunity to win over that group of native gods. Since we have encountered this opportunity, we will not let it go. The god of death smiled. He turned to look at Wang Feng. Deep in his eyes was extremely serious. Even now, he would never forget how his avatar of will had been destroyed. The strength of this native heavenly god was definitely not ordinary. Otherwise, he wouldn't have found 2 helpers. As soon as he finished speaking, the other 2 gods started to attack. Although it was only their will avatars that entered the god of death's divine realm, their strength would not decrease too much. The reason was simple. They were all from the same god system, and the god of death had a close relationship with them. In the divine region, there would not be many rules and restrictions on them. Moreover, the god of death's divine realm had also been damaged to a certain extent, so the restrictions on them were even weaker. A blood-red sun appeared on Blood Spirit God's chest. It was unknown what kind of powerful origin it was. Wisps of blood-colored light started to converge on the origin from all directions. In the blink of an eye, it formed a blood-red spear. Countless cracks began to appear on the god of death's divine domain. The powerful divine power fluctuations caused the already overwhelmed divine domain to tremble and almost shatter. Everyone, there's no need to estimate my god domain. Just use your most powerful means. The god of death shouted, once this native heavenly god attacks, my god domain will be shattered immediately, so there's no need to estimate. If the god domain was destroyed, it could be rebuilt. Although it would take a long time, the reward from Donghuang god system could shorten the time by a lot. It could even go further. At this time, he naturally wouldn't care about the god domain. He didn't think about luring this native heavenly god here. The blood spirit god laughed and said, "Don't worry, I didn't hold back. This spear is a projection of my own will, and it contains a strong will of blood. Plus, I gathered the blood of billions of creatures, and at least 100 types of saint creatures' blood essence in the universe, and cast a soul-refining method. Even a heavenly god of the same level as me can't bear it. Now that he is bound by the chains of rules, no matter how strong he is, his divine soul will be damaged and his origin will be damaged. At that time, his strength will definitely be reduced. Moreover, because this method is soul-sacrificial refining, there won't be any traces left. They were all heavenly gods. They had a detailed estimation of the purpose of this trip and the strength of both sides. Their purpose was very clear. They wanted to teach this native heavenly god a lesson and reduce his strength greatly. They didn't have any intention of killing him. Not bad, your will of blood projection seems to have become more solid. Earth Spirit God smiled and said, "It already has some resemblance to the supreme god of blood doctrine." After Earth Spirit God finished speaking, he opened his eyes slightly and stepped lightly on the void with one foot. Suddenly, a vast and heavy aura rose from his body. "Then I won't hold back," Earth Spirit God shouted in a low voice. "It just so happens that my will of Earth projection has recently obtained one of the main sources of the will of Earth. The projection has already begun to solidify. It's a good opportunity to test its power." The Death Spirit God looked at the Earth Spirit God with envy. The treatment and fate of direct gods were indeed different. The will of avatars they obtained wasn't the true will of the universe. It was a will of avatars formed by the god system's universe developing the will of the universe. It could allow the false gods of the god system's universe to obtain these projections and comprehend the will of the universe. Then, with the support of their own god domain's faith, they could step into the level of universal life. However, compared to the true will of the universe, there was still quite a difference. This was the reason why the native heavenly gods were strong. To be able to stand out in other universes and become a native heavenly god, they must have obtained the true will of the universe. Their strength was naturally very strong. Fortunately, the heavenly gods of the god system's universe had fused with the god domain's faith. Together with their clan tribe, they weren't much weaker than the native heavenly gods. Of course, their individual strength was still far inferior. Rumble! The instant Earth Spirit God moved. A nameless mountain peak rose from Earth Spirit God's feet like a pagoda. This mountain peak seemed to contain thousands of mysteries. There was a glistening divine light circulating and endless laws covering it. A resplendent radiance was imprinted on the peak of the mountain peak. Death Spirit God felt that his god domain seemed to be out of his control. His soul, body, and mind felt an extremely huge pressure. This is... Death Spirit God's pupils contracted. This is the main source of the will of Earth, the heavy Earth origin. He stared at the radiance on the peak of the mountain peak. The main source of any will of the universe was extremely difficult to find in the universe. Once one obtained the main source, it was equivalent to having half a hand touching this will of the universe. The path to becoming a heavenly god was considered to be wide open. To become a supreme god, one only needed to develop the god domain well. That was inevitable. Chapter 1818. This mountain is made from the heavy earth gathered from tens of thousands of primordial realms and billions of believers. After fusing with the heavy earth origin, its power is unpredictable. It intersects with the projection of the earth willpower. Even I am not sure of its current power. The earth spirit god had a proud expression and a faint smile. I hope this native heavenly god will not be crushed into nothingness. If that is the case, the higher-ups will definitely blame me. The last sentence was a joke. However, the earth spirit god and the blood spirit god could hear the seriousness in his word. The death spirit god thought to himself. What he said was true. However, based on his intuition, this native heavenly god was not that simple. However, as long as he could suppress this native heavenly god and reduce his strength, it would be fine. In comparison, the death spirit god felt that the blood spirit god's method was more mysterious. The main thing was that he could not leave any traces. Even if this native heavenly god wanted to find an excuse to go back on his words during the God War and apply for a god judgment from the God system universe, he could not do so. Going against our God system universe. These native heavenly gods do not understand that they are just lambs. The death spirit god stared at the blood spirit god and sneered in his heart. At the same time, I see. Wang Feng was enlightened. The primordial origin had completely analyzed the chain of laws. He roughly understood what the so-called willpower projection was. The chains contained the projection of that will. How should he put it, just like a real person and a model? Although the willpower projection contained the mysteries of the willpower projection, that was all. It turns out that most of the heavenly gods in the God system universe relied on the willpower projection to become heavenly gods. No wonder Wang Feng understood. He knew it was difficult to obtain the willpower projection. Why were there so many in the God system universe? It turned out that it was the willpower projection. However, he had to admit that the god who came up with this method was extremely powerful. A long time ago, the God system universe was at most a large world like the Dark Demon domain. Then, it slowly developed into a God system universe. Then, it became a whole. They used the willpower projection and the belief system of the God domain to make the life forms in the universe gradually stronger and improve their genes. To become a true God. Wang Feng closed his eyes. A willpower projection combined with the history of the God system universe that he obtained from the Crimson God Fox Emperor, Wang Feng had a better understanding of the God system universe. Using this method can break the restrictions. Nurture a large number of heavenly gods with the strength of universe-level life forms. Wang Feng was rather impressed. Whether it was the God world, the Dark Demon world, or the other great worlds, they couldn't find a way to become a universe-level life form. Yan Qingjue had used the God-slaying universe as a reference to the God-slaying universe, but it had only increased the strength of the Dark Demon world's demon gods by another level. However, to become a universe-level life form, even she herself found it difficult to do so. However, the God system universe was able to develop such a method, and it should have been developed a long time ago. That was how the current God system universe came to be. In other words, a long time ago, there was probably not much difference between the Divinity Systems universe and today's Douluo Divine Realm, Dark Demon Realm, and other great worlds. Truly amazing. The more Wang Feng thought about it, the more impressed he felt. Today's God system universe was so powerful that it couldn't have developed to this extent without this kind of constructive change of will projection. Unfortunately, this method of will projection could not be analyzed. The chains of laws merely contained the projection of the God of Death's universe will. It was formed by combining faith and divine power. Thinking of this, Wang Feng struggled slightly. The willpower chains on his body were instantly shattered. Even the will projection of the God of Death is incomplete. This little trick, Wang Feng opened his eyes and looked into the distance. He just happened to see a mountain that seemed to be able to suppress the universe directly crashing down. A blood spear exuding a monstrous blood aura was attacking him. This mountain is not bad. Wang Feng's eyes lit up as he stared at the origin on the mountain. The projection of the universe's will did not need many origins that the will needed. The strength that could be unleashed was also different according to the level of comprehension of the heavenly God. However, the projection of will combined with the divine realm of faith, no matter how strong one's comprehension was, it was impossible to surpass the power of the true universe's will. It might even be difficult to reach 80%. However, the powerful origin on this mountain made Wang Feng feel a little bit of the true power of the universe's will. This mountain is not bad either. Wang Feng's eyes immediately lit up. If he came here empty-handed, wouldn't it be a wasted trip? Thinking of this, Wang Feng's palm moved, and a mysterious quintessence shockingly floated up into appearance. Fall down! The origin in Wang Feng's palm emitted a majestic divine light and then merged into his entire palm. With a light tap of his toes, Wang Feng seemed as though he did not feel any pressure or weight from the mountain. It was as though he was plucking a star from the sky. He directly grabbed the origin embedded in the mountain into his palm. The origin of heavy earth on the mountain seemed to be trembling and begging for mercy, as though it was afraid of Wang Feng's palm. Wang Feng clenched his fist and immediately felt an extremely heavy power of earth. What an excellent origin! Wang Feng laughed loudly. At the same time, impossible! Almost at the same time, the god of death and the other two gods in the distance cried out in alarm. This god's origin of heavy earth! I lost my senses. The smile on the earth spirit god's face had yet to stiffen. His voice was trembling as he said, "This is impossible. This is the origin of heavy earth that is bound to my earth will projection. How could he just grab it and lose its senses? Even if he wants to snatch the origin, it is not that simple. This is absolutely impossible. Origin could be snatched away. However, it was extremely difficult to do so. The origin could be snatched away, but the connection with the heaven god's perception could not be removed. This was especially true for the origin of heavy earth that was bound to the earth will projection. Unless the heaven god was killed, it was impossible to remove the connection with the heaven god's perception. The earth spirit god had lived for so long, but he had never seen a situation where he lost control of his origin after the other party grabbed it. This meant that the origin of heavy earth no longer belonged to him. Moreover, at the moment when the connection was severed, the earth spirit god could feel that at that moment, the origin of heavy earth seemed to be filled with boundless fear and wanted to leave the mountain. When the blood spirit god saw this, he immediately had an idea. Return. The blood spirit god growled and wanted to call back the blood spear. The blood spear also contained his origin. The blood spear and the mountain were the divine weapons of faith of the heaven gods. They were connected to their origin and possessed boundless power. However, it was over. Almost at the same time as he said that, Wang Feng grabbed the blood spear. His palm seemed to emit a suction force like a black hole and directly sucked out a faint blood-colored origin. Not bad. Wang Feng narrowed his eyes as he looked at the two origin, the mountain, and the blood spear in his hand. The origin tribulation divine king's origin tribulation origin is truly powerful. Wang Feng looked at the palm that had grabbed the two origins. That's right. The origin that he used just now was the last of the 7 great origin that he inherited from the origin tribulation divine king. It was also the most mysterious and special origin. Origin tribulation. All heaven's origin tribulation. End of this chapter. Chapter 1819. Origin tribulation origin source. It was the last origin source that Wang Feng inherited from the origin tribulation divine king. It was also the most mysterious origin source. Adjudication, redemption, indestructible, elements, devour, nihility, origin tribulation. Wang Feng had used these 7 origins except for the origin tribulation origin source. He understood the meaning and function of these origins. The origin tribulation origin source was the most mysterious. At the same time, It was the same as the Origin Tribulation Divine King's name. It was very important. It was even related to the Origin Tribulation Divine King's universe will. After returning from the Dark Demon Realm's Soul Realm, defeating Mo Tiants and regaining these origins, Wang Feng had never touched the Origin Tribulation essences before, because he didn't know what it was used for. Later, when he asked the Qianrenxue for the Angel Origin Core and planned to merge it into the Origin Tribulation Divine King's universe will, the Qianrenxue didn't agree. In the end, Wang Feng didn't get the complete Origin Tribulation Divine King's origin source. After that, because the Pangu Axe True Soul had been completely repaired and he had comprehended the will of heaven opening within it, he had also deduced the primordial wheel-time soul in his soul domain and created 2 clones. His strength had greatly increased and he rarely used the 7 great essences of Origin Tribulation Deity King. Most of these 7 origins were placed in the ancestral realm by Wang Feng and became the ancestral realm's heavenly Tao law through Yen Mengyao. Especially the Nihility origin source. It could purify those Nihility life forms and turn them into pure Nihility souls. As for the Origin Tribulation origin source, Wang Feng didn't use it. But it wasn't that Wang Feng didn't study it. On the contrary, the Origin Tribulation Divine King was an extremely important existence in his life. It was impossible for Wang Feng not to study it. Therefore, Wang Feng had been studying the Origin Tribulation origin source. Origin Tribulation, Origin Tribulation. I don't know how the Origin Tribulation Divine King comprehended this origin source. Wang Fengxin sighed. As the name implied, the Origin Tribulation was the tribulation of all origins, destruction and rebirth. It could destroy the power of origins, whether it was the origin contained in the Blood Spirit God's blood spear or the origin on the mountain peak. They almost instantly lost all power under the origin source. They were completely controlled. In fact, if Wang Feng wanted to, he could even destroy the 2 controlled origins. Once these 2 sources were destroyed, the Blood Spirit God and the Earth Spirit God would definitely suffer a great loss of vitality and strength. However, if he wanted to destroy the origin, he would need to use up a lot of divine power. Moreover, the energy waves produced would not only destroy the god realm of the god of death, but would also destroy the surrounding nebula. This place still belonged to the Divine System universe and the Douluo Divine System. Wang Feng didn't know how powerful this Kilo Divine branch was, but it definitely had a few supreme gods. Doing so was obviously not appropriate. There was no need to go head-on against the God System universe. Moreover, the current situation was that the gods of the Kilo Divine System were secretly trying to deal with him. He had also signed the Godly Battle Holy Scroll with the Godly System universe. Once their actions were made public, even the rules of the Divine System universe would be on their side. Is that all you've got? Wang Feng's left hand grasped the 2 glowing origin sources, feeling the surging power within. With a flip of his hand, the Crimson Spear and the mountain were drawn into his grasp again. This scene caused the hearts of the Blood Spirit God and the Earth Spirit God to twitch violently. The Crimson Spear and the mountain were divine weapons of faith that they had used up an unknown amount of materials and faith power to refine. They were taken away just like that, not to mention these divine weapons. Even the most precious origin sources were gone. Such a blow caused the breathing of the 2 gods to become hurried and their vision blurred. Even with their divine bodies and bodies, it was almost impossible for them to withstand such a blow. Not to mention other things, once these 2 origin sources were lost, it would mean that their future path would be buried. The god of death at the side was so frightened that he couldn't speak. What kind of method was this? If it was like before, the other party could just take out that axe and send the Crimson Spear and the mountain flying. He could understand it. However, not only did he take away the origin sources, he even took away the divine weapons of faith of a heavenly god. The most terrifying thing was that even the connection between the origin sources and the heavenly God was destroyed. Furthermore, he can't be thinking of crushing those two origin sources, right? The god of death looked at the two origin sources that were crazily pulsating in Wang Feng's palm. This premonition in his heart was extremely strong. His heart was filled with fear. He knew the power of the explosion of these two origin sources. Why? Are you afraid that I will crush them? Wang Feng looked at the god of death and seemed to see the fear in the latter's eyes. He smiled and said, "You heavenly gods should have more than one origin sources, right? Come again? Where is your will projection? Why don't you show it to me?" As a heavenly god, the will projection was, of course, the most powerful method. However, when the god of death heard this, the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. It wasn't a life and death battle. Which heavenly god would casually use the will projection? Not only did it consume a lot of energy, but it was also extremely destructive. Even if it was used, it wouldn't be in the divine domain. Usually, it would be used according to different will projections for other purposes. The god of blood and the god of earth stopped talking. Their bodies trembled. Again? Origin sources weren't something that could be found on the street. Especially after becoming a heavenly god. Every origin source was extremely important, because it was closely related to the will projection. Although the will projection was complete, the more origin sources related to the will of the universe, the more condensed the will projection. It would become the true will of the universe, the ability to have the complete will of the universe. At that time, combined with the divine domain's system of belief, it could allow the heavenly god to reach a new height. In the future, when he became a supreme god, he would have to do this. Losing one origin source was already a huge blow to his vitality. If he were to do it again now, the child of wealth? What a good native heavenly god! The god of blood's voice was dry. From the beginning, he had said the same thing. Now, he still said the same thing. However, the situation couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. The god of earth was also silent. Before coming, the god of death had already introduced to them how powerful this native heavenly god was. However, from the looks of it, this native heavenly god's strength was still unfathomable. He didn't use the methods that the god of death had mentioned. Just this method of snatching the origin sources and extinguishing the perception was already extremely difficult to deal with. If they were to fight recklessly now, at most, both sides would suffer. It wasn't worth it. It seems like you guys don't plan to fight. Wang Feng smiled. Then, it would be impolite for this god to refuse these two origins and this plaything. Hearing this, the god of blood and god of earth's aura became chaotic, and their hearts twitched again. However, they didn't say anything else. Wang Feng could see through it. The gods of Crow God system were all people who bullied the weak and feared the strong. They probably cherished their own heavenly path and didn't dare to gamble. They were very cowardly. End of chapter. Chapter 1820. Wang Feng was looking forward to them sending over a few more origin sources. Even though they were not useful to him, they were still useful to the ancestral realm. Wang Feng looked at the three deities and pondered for a few seconds. He then took out the Pengu axe. At that moment, the deity domain crumbled. A terrifying aura that seemed to be able to split the cosmos was emitted from the axe in Wang Feng's hand. The Pengu axe that contained the will to split open the sky was held by Wang Feng with his current strength. With this axe, let alone this tiny deity domain of the death spirit god, even if there were a few more deity domains, or even this nebula that belonged to the crow deity cosmos, Wang Feng would be able to split it into two. The aura of death caused the three crow deities to shrink their eyes and their bodies to stiffen. They could not move. Death. Deities could die too. Even though the life forms in the deity cosmos were born powerful. But they could die too. In the deity cosmos, those who were truly undying. Only the primal cosmos gods could do so. because, since the deity cosmos developed until now, the supreme lifeforms known as the primal cosmos gods had lived until now. It's just that the number of them could be counted with one's fingers, and this death in front of them made them feel fear. Should I exterminate all of you before me? Wang Feng pondered. As he pondered, the Death Spirit God, Blood Spirit God, and Earth Spirit God could not move, of which the Death Spirit God was the most afraid. This was because he was in his divine domain, and this was his true body. If he said he would die, then he would really die. And the Blood Spirit God and Earth Spirit God were not their true bodies. They were willpower avatars. If they died, their true bodies in the deity domain would not die. It was just that their strength would greatly decrease, and their faith energy would rapidly dissipate. At this moment, Wang Feng suddenly looked at the mysterious deity who had remained in the shadows without saying a word. He laughed and said, "Forget it. I've gained quite a lot, so I'll spare your dog lives. Just wait to face the public opinion of the deity cosmos." Finishing his words, Wang Feng disappeared from where he stood. And at this moment, the three deities let out a sigh of relief. It was like a person who was about to be strangled to death could finally breathe again. Death Spirit God, this native deity is so powerful, you don't understand him enough. The Blood Spirit God roared at the Death Spirit God. From today onwards, we can no longer be brothers. This god won't have any more thoughts about this battle of gods. My own blood origin. That was the main source of my will of blood's projection. It's gone just like that. Damn it. The god of death didn't say anything, but his body was still trembling. He couldn't help but think about the upcoming war of the gods. This native heavenly deity is so powerful. The Earth Spirit God forced himself to calm down and said in a low voice, "If it weren't for the restriction of the rules of the Battle of Gods, it would be impossible for that genius of the Donghuang divine branch to defeat such an expert. I have seen quite a number of native heavenly gods, but this is the first time I have seen such a powerful and mysterious one. In the future, it is better for me not to have any delusions of interfering in the matters of this battle of gods." The god of death nodded. What kind of joke was this? Wasn't he courting death by interfering? Do you think? The god of death was silent for a moment and said, "Will this indigenous divine god really be able to defeat the genius of the Donghuang divine system in the war of gods?" The Blood Spirit God and the Earth Spirit God frowned slightly and did not reply. "Impossible." The Earth Spirit God took the lead and said, "At least, the universe of the God system will not allow him to defeat the genius of the Donghuang divine system. Now, there are quite a number of native heavenly gods in our universe of the God system. These native heavenly gods are powerful and have unlimited potential. The higher-ups have always wanted to subdue them. The higher-ups will not let go of this opportunity. As long as the Donghuang divine system can defeat this powerful native heavenly god in the war of gods, the other native heavenly gods will also feel the power of our universe of the god system. The higher-ups will also have enough reasons to restrain these native heavenly gods and let them merge into our universe of the god system. At that time, the rules of the war of gods may be slightly changed so that this native heavenly god can exert his strength to the greatest extent. Therefore, the higher-ups will not allow him to defeat the genius of the Donghuang divine system." Hearing this, the Blood Spirit God snorted and said, "The Donghuang divine system has been declining for so many years. Although the Qiming god is talented, he has seized this opportunity. The higher-ups will definitely train him vigorously in this war of gods. Not to mention anything else, they will definitely not let him lose this war of God." The three gods sighed with emotion as if they had survived a disaster. They also sighed with emotion about the changes that would happen in the war of gods soon, but they were also looking forward to it. At this time, the god of death suddenly looked at the shadow beside him and said respectfully, "When will you go back?" The other two gods also seemed to think of something and immediately faced the shadow respectfully, not daring to say a word. Your Crow divine system is not too weak among the many factions in the God system universe. How did you cultivate a few useless gods? A cold voice came from the shadow. If other gods had heard such insulting words, they would have been furious. However, the god of death and the other two gods were still smiling. They did not even dare to show a trace of dissatisfaction in their eyes. It was as if being said like this was a compliment. Losing the origin, losing the divine artifact, and being scared witless before the other party even made a move. You are really a disgrace to our God system universe. The shadow looked at the Earth Spirit God and said calmly, to think that you are a direct God. If the Supreme Being of Earth Star were to know that there is a direct God like you under his command, I'm afraid he would find a God planet and kill himself. The Earth Spirit God. However, although your performance was unsightly, the shadow continued. But in any case, you have made this native god show some of his skills. It is still somewhat useful. Hearing this, the three gods could not help but feel dry in their hearts. He is not considered useless. The shadow waved his hand. Let's leave it at that. When that native god returns, he will probably find a chance to publicize this matter. Although he is not a god of the God system universe, he is not stupid. He might have already found out about the internal situation of our God system universe through some channels. The native gods of the God system universe are not to be trifled with. When the time comes, your Crow God system will break the rules of the universe and forcefully make a move against the native gods in the War of the God. Such behavior of breaking the rules before the war will definitely be condemned. It is impossible for the higher-ups to protect you. Take care of yourselves. After saying that, the shadow disappeared. Only the three gods were left. They sighed and left one after another. The god of death looked at the shattered divine domain and knew that his path to godhood had come to an end. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. My God, I have a way to let you rise again. The god of death was slightly stunned. He looked at Carl, who appeared in the void. For a moment, he was somewhat stunned. The god of death shook his head and said with lifeless eyes, What way? Carl smiled and said a few words to the god of death through voice transmission. Suddenly, the god of death's lifeless eyes lit up. However, he then took a light breath and said in a low voice, Good job. Good fellow, you're really something. End of chapter. Chapter 1821. Dark Demon World. That's how it all happened. Wang Feng looked at Crimson Divine Fox Emperor in front of him and said slowly. After returning from the Divine Plane, Wang Feng went directly to the Dark Demon World and found Yan Qingjue, asking her to contact Crimson Divine Fox Emperor. The gods of Crow Divine System are targeting you in a Divine Plane? Crimson Divine Fox Emperor pondered for a moment. There are three more? It seems that the Divine System universe doesn't give us native gods any face. They're still playing such tricks? Crimson Divine Fox Emperor sneered. Although we native gods are nothing, since the Divine War has been decided, they even issued a holy letter of challenge. The Crimson Divine Fox Emperor's eyes flickered with a wisp of fire. If you had died in the deity battle, then so be it. No one would be able to say anything about it. However, you still dared to play such tricks before the deity battle. Not only did you fail, you were even discovered. You're looking down on us native gods too much. What do you mean? Wang Feng was speechless. So you think I have no chance of winning? Crimson Divine Fox Emperor didn't say anything and just glanced at him. In any case, I understand what's going on. Wang Feng shrugged. You native gods still have some status in the Divine System universe. Otherwise, the Divine System universe wouldn't want to win this divine war so easily. The three gods of Crow Divine System attacked me. The upper echelons of the Divine System universe would know. Even the Donghuang Divine System would know. But they still allowed them to do so. Their goal wasn't to kill me, but to weaken my strength. To put it bluntly, they wanted to win the divine war. Then, through the failure of an indigenous Empyrean god like me, I can righteously take you indigenous Empyrean gods into the system of the divine system universe. Wang Feng pinched his chin and looked at Crimson Divine Fox Emperor with some interest. I didn't think that there was such a relationship. So, when you wanted me to reveal the situation and information of the divine system universe, you were allowed to do so, right? Do you native gods have a common group in the divine system universe? Crimson Divine Fox Emperor was silent. Native gods were indeed a group in the divine system universe. They didn't exist alone. If they were alone, for example, she, Crimson Divine Fox Emperor, would have been eaten by the divine system universe. Let's talk about it after you win the deity battle. The Crimson Divine Fox Emperor shook his head. There's no point in talking about this now. Wang Feng walked closer to the Crimson Divine Fox Emperor. A powerful aura slowly emanated from Wang Feng's body. The Crimson Divine Fox Emperor was stunned. Right now, she had arrived in the Dark Devil world in the form of a will clone. However, he could also sense an extremely powerful energy being emitted from Wang Feng's body. Meaningless? Wang Feng looked at the Crimson Divine Fox Emperor indifferently. Then what's the point? Is there any meaning in tricking my close female friends away? The Crimson Divine Fox Emperor was shrouded in a faint shadow. Although her form was that of a human, there were 9 fox tails behind her back. From the hazy shadow, her figure and posture had a perfect curve and temperament. Moreover, it also had a trace of a holy and inviolable ethereal aura. It was a unique aura formed by the will of the universe. However, under such a situation, the Crimson Divine Fox Emperor could not help but take a few steps back, as if he was intimidated by Wang Feng's aura. The Crimson Divine Fox Emperor was secretly shocked. This fella's improvement speed was too fast. The first time he saw him, it was in the Crimson Hill of the Dark Devil world. This time, it had only been a short while and this fella's aura was already able to intimidate him. Also, he said that the 3 gods of Douluo divine system lured him into the divine domain to deal with him. Now that he had returned safely, he did not mention the process. However, one could imagine that the 3 gods of Douluo divine system were definitely not weak. They were at least at the heavenly god level. Furthermore, he was able to return safely in the other party's divine domain. This meant that the 3 gods were not his match at all. This fella is really a monster. The Crimson Divine Fox Emperor thought to himself. That's right, after all, he is the inheritor of the origin tribulation and has inherited the will of the universe. Wang Feng, didn't you say that you don't mind this matter? Yan Qingju saw that the 2 of them were suddenly at loggerheads and tried to smooth things over. Wang Feng snorted coldly and said, "You actually believe the nonsense of a man? In front of them, I will not mind this matter. I will only support them. However, this does not mean that I will not mind in front of the fella who instigated them. Crimson Divine Fox Emperor, do you think that I do not know what you are planning? What do you know?" The Crimson Divine Fox Emperor's aura was not weak, as he said indifferently. What else could it be? Wang Feng said slowly. It is nothing more than the yin-yang will of your clan. Your yin-yang will of your clan is incomplete and caused your clan to be cursed. You want to repair this yin-yang will of your clan, but to repair this will. At this point, Wang Feng paused. The Crimson Divine Fox Emperor stared at him with sharp eyes. The key lies in the main source of the yin-yang will of your clan, which is the source of the yin-yang interaction. Wang Feng looked at the Crimson Divine Fox Emperor without fear. Since you gave the source of the yin-yang interaction to Yan Qingju, you wanted to use me to repair this yin-yang will of your clan. Although I do not know how exactly it was repaired, it is still related to this matter. But it must have something to do with this. It is also related to the fact that you sent all of my close female friends away. Wang Feng snorted coldly again and said, "We are still considered allies now. If you dare to instigate the people around me again, don't blame me for being impolite." With that, Wang Feng disappeared from the spot. Only the Crimson Divine Fox Emperor remained silent. After Wang Feng left, a while later, Yi Zichen's expression changed. "See, I told you," Yan Qingju said unhurriedly. "I watched him grow up, so I know his temper very well. What you did will definitely cause his dissatisfaction. Furthermore, I can't see through him anymore. If you want to use him, it will be very troublesome." The Crimson Divine Fox Emperor remained silent. "However, I can see that he is still full of goodwill towards you," Yan Qingju said. "He knows that you have helped him time and time again. It is just that your methods are a bit too radical." "It is not that I want to be radical, but time does not wait for me." The Crimson Divine Fox Emperor shook his head lightly. Yan Qingju seemed to have thought of something and shook her head lightly. In the group chat. Ding. Li Feiyu has joined the group chat. Ding. Nan Xian, Immortal Lord, has joined the group chat. When the notification rang out, immediately many cheers rang out in the chat group. Tu Shi Ancient Emperor Jade. Wah, another newcomer has joined the group. Everyone, come out and welcome him. Newcomers, newcomers. Why don't you all introduce yourselves? Our information is all in the group announcement. Fan Yi, Immortal Lord? This name is a bit strong? Could it be that he is another big shot? Nan Xian, Immortal Lord? Borrow from the heavens for another 1,000 years. Newcomers usually don't talk. According to my experience, most of them will peek at the screen for a period of time and wait until they understand more about the situation before they appear. Don't you think so? Ghostly? Ghostly, eh? Generally speaking, when a strange voice suddenly appears in one's mind, everyone will be alert, blushing with shame. JPG. Nobody under the heavens can betray me. That's right. When we first joined the group, Fan Yi and Fan Yi were very lively. They kept chasing after us and asking us all sorts of questions. The two of us were embarrassed to not answer them and could only casually lie to them. Fan Yi, damn, the two of you. I was wondering why I felt that there was something wrong with the two of you. One of you lied to me and said that you were a dying old man while the other lied to me and said that you were a lecher. So, F***CK, one of you is the emperor of the Great Qin Empire and the other is an ambitious person. Angry. JPG. However, I've actually seen through your identities long ago. Stickly. JPG. Borrow from the heavens for another 1,000 years. Can't betray me. Tu Shi Ancient Emperor Jade. Stickly. JPG. At the same time. In the parallel universe, in a certain city on planet Aqua Blue, a handsome young man was staring at the river surface in a daze. A chat group? Interesting. The Emperor of the Great Qin Empire? An ambitious person who ruled the world? Tu Shi Ancient Emperor Jade. What are those? The young man revealed a smile, as if he found it very interesting. I didn't expect that I, the Nan Xian Immortal Lord who ruled the universe in my previous life, would actually join a chat group after being reborn? The young man smiled. It seems like there are people from other worlds who have been pulled into this chat group. Even in the universe of my previous life, there are not many people who have this kind of method to be able to pull me into the group. The amount of karma that you have to bear is not small. This group leader was also a capable person. Alright, let's see what they are talking about. The young man smiled as he looked at the chat group. However, the more he looked, the smile on his face gradually disappeared. His frown became deeper and deeper. He seemed to have seen a certain scene. The young man's breathing paused slightly. Ancestor God? The young man stared at the sky. Crowned with the name of God, in my previous life, countless gods died in my hands. This ancestor God seems to be somewhat different. Crushing a star with his bare hands, even I in my previous life could do it. However, to be able to do it so easily, and to be able to transform such a huge amount of energy in an instant, inject it into a world and upgrade it, to be able to turn the world upside down in the blink of an eye. Such a method is truly extraordinary. Great Tao God Summoning Chapter Believers, Faith. This kind of God should not have such strength. The young man muttered to himself, in my previous life, I encountered many experts who relied on absorbing the faith of the mortal world's living beings and the power of faith from incense, but they did not possess such a powerful ability. What is this? The young man's eyes suddenly froze. At this moment, he saw that ancestor god seemed to have descended into the world where the two-she ancient Emperor Jade was located. He shattered the mirage-like giant light figure in the sky with a single spear strike. The others in the group did not quite understand this scene. On the contrary, they were amazed and shocked by the ancestor god's ability to crush stars and suns, enlighten livestock to become gods, create divine weapons with a flick of his fingers, and so on. However, this was the only scene the young man saw. That is a divine kingdom's divine domain? Is it a god from that divine system universe? The young man took a deep breath. In the universe of my previous life, Master was taken away by a god expert who claimed to be from the divine system universe. Those god experts were completely different from the experts I know who relied on absorbing the faith of the mortal world's living beings. That light figure must be a god expert who possessed a divine domain. He was actually killed by him just like that? The others in the group did not understand this at all. However, the young man knew. Because the reason he was reborn now was because of this. At that time, after Master was taken away by that god expert, I originally wanted to forcefully stop him. However, before I could see that god expert, my primordial spirit was destroyed by some clan under his command, and my thousands of years of cultivation was burned to ashes. The young man gritted his teeth, and his eyes burned with the flames of hatred. I didn't expect that not only was I reborn, but I also joined this chat group. This ancestor god seems to be ridiculously powerful. He could kill a god from the divine system universe so easily. This means that he definitely has the ability to break through the limits. The young man sneered. Now that I am reborn on planet Aqua Blue in this life, I must climb to the top again. I must find that god expert who took Master away. In the chat group, she ancient Emperor Jade. I have already downloaded the video. The newbies are all silent. Regret. JPG. Fanyi. Don't worry, let the newbies prepare first. The glory of the ancestor god will definitely turn them into chatterboxes soon. Li Feiyu. Everyone, my name is Li Feiyu. I came from an ordinary immortal cultivation world, and I am an ordinary immortal cultivator. I just found out that I am somewhat similar to this brother Ghostly. Please take care of me in the future. Ghostly. Kindred spirits? Then we can communicate more in the future. Li Feiyu. I dare not. You should be in existence at the level of a big shot. I can only ask for your guidance. Mortal Cultivation World. Yellow Maple Valley. Han Li sensed the many messages in the chat group and fell into deep thought. Chat group. Myriad worlds. Interesting, this is using spiritual sense to communicate, but it seems that it can't be transmitted or shared with others. The people in the chat group seem to be very powerful. Han Li thought carefully. This Ghostly also came from the immortal cultivation world. Looking at the information, there is no detailed information on his cultivation realm. He is definitely not simple. However, what kind of person is this ancestor god? He downloaded a few videos, but he didn't watch them in his mind. After thinking for a moment, Han Li asked, Everyone, this is the ancestor god. Everyone, this is my first time here. May I know who this ancestor god is? These videos all seem to be related to him? Hearing this, the chat group immediately fell silent for a moment. Fan Yi, it's good to be a newbie, you don't know anything. Ancestor God? Even if I tell you now, you probably won't know much. You only need to know that he is a super powerful being who doesn't care about anything and is extremely awesome. He is also a supreme existence with great charm, wisdom, and benevolence. To she ancient Emperor Jade, Fan Yi, that's enough. You like to flatter the ancestor god when you have nothing to do. Fan Yi, hee, I can't help it. You guys don't know, but this tree that the ancestor god gave me is too awesome. I have already joined a sect in the eastern wasteland. They said that my sacred body of the ancients is very awesome, but the key is that I can't cultivate it at all. This is because this sacred body requires a huge amount of resources, and in the end, I can't break through the upper limit. It is impossible to even reach small success. King laughed on the spot. They don't know, but during the days that the Bodhi tree was in my body, I felt that my sacred body had already reached small success. Do you dare to believe it? I feel that I am very strong now, but I don't know how strong I am. To she ancient Emperor Jade. On the other side. Sacred body? Han Li pondered. It seems that these people in the chat group are all experts. To be able to become the target of reverence of these experts, this ancestor god must be very powerful. Let me take a look at these videos. P.S. Today's first update, 4,000 words, no chapters. Chapter 1822. Meanwhile, in the ancestral realm, Wang Feng looked at the two people who had just joined the group with interest. Li Feiyu didn't need to be mentioned. Wang Feng already knew who he was. Li Feiyu killed and set fire to the celestial venerable Han. Wang Feng smiled. The Xianxia world in the record of a mortal's journey was much bigger and more complicated than Ghost Li's world of immortal execution. It had unlimited potential. As for this Nanxian celestial venerable, it's hard to say. Wang Feng pondered. With the word celestial venerable, he must be a powerhouse who could reach the top of a civilization. But at most, he would be a powerhouse at the top of the immortal Dao civilization. It was nothing. If he could surpass the immortal Dao civilization, he would be considered a powerhouse who could surpass the universe. But these two are both children of destiny. Nanxian Celestial Venerable doesn't know that old Demon Han is definitely the child of destiny. Wang Feng sighed. He looks ordinary, but in fact, he had read the record of a mortal's journey and even the immortal world chapter. He naturally knew that this big shot had extraordinary means. Even his current cheat was set up by him. But in terms of strength, in Wang Feng's opinion, even old Demon Han from the immortal world was no match for him. There was a big gap between them. From the current system of the God System universe, most of the children of destiny that Yan Qingjue found belonged to the high-level world. In these high-level world universes, they were all unit universes. These children of destiny could all become the most powerful beings in this universal civilization. Naturally, the amount of faith they could bring was enormous. Yan Qingjue has a good eye, Wang Feng thought. After thinking about it, Wang Fengxin had an idea. Currently, in the God System universe, because of the universe hunt, many gods had invaded other worlds. These gods are all walking origins, Wang Feng thought. Now that I have the origin of tribulation origin, I can use this opportunity to seize a large number of origins. With origins, there will be more universe wills to choose from. Of course, these universe wills weren't for him to choose. They were for the ancestral realm. If he could control countless origins and gather them into a universe wills, Wang Feng could make the ancestral realm surpass a pure God domain civilization. It could even evolve into a multidimensional universe civilization. Just like the primitive universe. This was a huge project. Even though Wang Feng hadn't fully established the 9 paths of reincarnation in the ancestral realm, he'd already thought of a further direction. This is an opportunity. With that in mind, Wang Feng immediately sent a message in the group. Ancestral God, the universe is in turmoil, vast and unpredictable. At this moment, there will be a large number of foreign experts invading your world. If you all can work together to resist the earthquake, expel these foreign experts one after another, then I will bestow upon you all many gifts. If you can't fight back, you can send a message to me. You will also receive many blessings. Thus, I shall commence this god-hunting event. It will be permanent and effective since time immemorial. I will also put many rewards into the reward pool for this event. I hope everyone will work hard. Hunt God event. Wang Feng planned to use the chat group to secretly hunt down the origins of the various gods in the divine system's universe. It was far better to rely on these children of destiny to search for those gods than to search for them on his own, because the gods of the god system universe would most likely find them, either subduing them or invading their world. There was also a possibility that they would bestow blessings upon these children of destiny to become their clan tribes. With the power of the god system universe, these children of destiny will find it hard to resist the invasion of the main god system universe gods. There is a high chance that they will become the clan tribes of those gods. They will be firmly controlled by the gods. Wang Feng sighed. Anyway, Wang Feng didn't have any burden towards the god system universe. He was originally a native heavenly god. To be called a native by the god system universe, one could imagine that the god system universe wasn't friendly to native heavenly gods. They had always wanted to swallow these native heavenly gods. It could be seen from the Crimson God Fox Emperor. It wasn't to the extent of killing those gods. But Wang Feng didn't want to let go of the origins. From the previous few battles, Wang Feng felt that the god system universe's methods weren't very good. At the same time, I can also let these children of destiny understand the tip of the iceberg about the god system universe. At the same time, when Wang Feng's message appeared in the group, in an instant the entire group was in an uproar. Fan Yi, F***CK. God hunting event? This name is a little strong. Invasion of foreign experts? How strong are they? Can they be stronger than me now? Self-confidence. JPG. 2 She Ancient Emperor Jade. Ancestor God. Ancestor God. Are these foreign experts the mysterious expert you dealt with in our world the other day? Recently, my father said that the soul race's strength suddenly increased explosively at a certain stage. There was even a Dodi. Is this the reason? Borrowing 10,000 years from the heavens. So it's like this? The demons in our world should be caused by the invasion of those foreign experts, right? Otherwise, it's impossible for those demons that only exist in ghost stories to appear. People can't betray me. God hunting event is a little interesting. Coincidentally, I have already gathered a large group of experts. Coincidentally, after unifying the chaotic world, I have no place to vent my anger. I didn't expect to encounter such an event. Ancestor God, as long as you give the order, I guarantee that these foreign experts won't be able to hide and will turn into ashes. Fan Yi, old brother Chow, it's not that I want to criticize you. Have you forgotten that you almost died during the Battle of Red Cliff? If I'm not wrong, the Sun Essence Flame should be the work of those foreign experts, right? Do you think you can defeat them? People can't betray me. Why not? Kid, you are underestimating the experts here. That day we were also caught off guard. It's impossible for us to do it again. Ancestor God, you saved us. We are not a bunch of trash. Kid, you might be arrogant now, but it's still very easy for me to beat you up. Yi Fan. Hee, my saint body is now at the small success stage. It might be a little difficult for you to beat me up. People can't betray me. Smile, saint body? Go and take a look at the prize pool of the god hunting event. There are many saint bodies there. Your saint body is nothing. Fan Yi, shrouding heaven world. Yi Fan's heart moved. There are saint bodies in the prize pool? After thinking about it, Yi Fan immediately searched for the prize pool in the chat group. He immediately saw the contents of the prize pool. The prize pool seemed to be calculated based on points. From the lowest level of a few dozen to a few hundred points to a few 100,000 points to a few million points. The way to obtain points was also very simple. It was either to hunt down those foreign invaders, obtain information about those foreign invaders, or spread the glory of the ancestor god. In short, the more you killed, the more points you had, and the better the items you could exchange for. Saint Body of the Ancients. Isn't this my physique? 10,000 points. Yi Fan searched in the prize pool for a long time and really found his saint body. It's only worth 10,000 points? Yi Fan murmured. Then what about those 100,000 points, 1 million points, and 10 million points? Chapter 1823. He was now clear about the status of the sacred body of the ancients in this world. It was not simple. Although it was listed as a forbidden body, it was extremely difficult to cultivate and was abandoned. But this might be a very powerful physique. At least Yi Fan felt that his current sacred body was very strong. After all, the harder it was for someone to cultivate, the stronger it would be. Since ancient times, there had been many people with this kind of physique. Not to mention those who had cultivated it, even those who had achieved small success were few and far between. 100,000 points will be rewarded with a God-given true treasure. Yi Fan was tempted. Yi Fan knew that the God-given true treasure was equivalent to the Bodhi tree that the ancestor god had given him. The sacred body of the ancients, which could make countless sects and forces tremble at the mention of a God-given true treasure, had only achieved small success in a few months. It was not impossible for it to achieve large success in the future. If there were a few more God-given true treasures, is there anything in this world that can stop me? Yi Fan thought. Other than that, the 1 million points, I don't know what those things are. Divination, world seeds, and many unfathomable secret methods and great path laws. I've never heard of them, Yi Fan murmured. As for the 10 million points and hundreds of millions of points, he was not even qualified to look at them. It might require points to reach a certain condition to unlock them. First, I'll set a small goal to earn 100,000 points and get the second God-given true treasure. It shouldn't be difficult. Even if I can't deal with those foreign powerhouses, I can at least get some information, right? Moreover, I can also earn points by vigorously developing the believers of the ancestor god. Thinking about it, Yi Fan was full of enthusiasm. At this time, most of the people in the group had the same idea as Yi Fan. After all, the things in the prize pool were extremely good for them. Among other things, Wang Feng even got a few sets of exclusive god slayers from the Dark Demon Realm and the Void Engine from the Super Godly Universe. The god slayers from the Dark Demon Realm were most famous for the eternal god slayers. That thing was more difficult to get, but exclusive god slayers were easy to get. Basically, it only required a large amount of resources, and Wang Feng did not lack those resources that were relatively low level for him. It was very simple because he could directly use divine power to create those resources and build a few exclusive god slayers. That thing had a strong enhancement effect on powerhouses below the universe level. It was an all-round enhancement. Even if Yi Fan became an emperor, it would be of great help. It was an extremely powerful weapon, not to mention directly bestowing divine power. As the highest reward, Wang Feng even took out the origin source. However, the origin source was still a little too advanced for them. These essences weren't the same as the world essences of the Douluo divine realm. Instead, it was a branch that could touch the will of the universe. It was the origin of the universe, except for the high-level ones. In the middle of the prize pool, Wang Feng also prevented himself from looking at the physiques, cultivation methods, materials, and so on that would be of great help to these children of destiny. Yi Fan's sacred body of the ancients was nothing more than genetic technology to Wang Feng. With the genetic technology of the super-godly universe and his own primordial origin, he could easily analyze it. It was very easy. Not to mention the sacred body of the ancient. In this kind of unit universe, basically any powerful physique could be analyzed. Then, divine power could be used to carve the genetic secrets of the physique and record it down as a reward. As for cultivation techniques, Wang Feng used the primordial origin to establish powerful models of immortal and Xuanhuan civilizations. He could derive extremely powerful cultivation techniques according to the world they were in. For example, the chaos scripture of the shrouding sky world, the heaven-devouring demonic skill, many ultimate skills, the secret of the 9 words, the flying immortal art, and so on. Wang Feng could deduce cultivation techniques and ultimate skills that matched them, or even stronger. It wasn't impossible to transform them into origin wheel divine powers that could surpass the long river of time. In fact, in the system of the God system universe, no matter how strong the cultivation techniques and ultimate skills were, it was difficult to resist the projection of the will and the origin of the universe. Therefore, those things were already outdated in the God system universe. Just like when the blood spirit god and the earth spirit god attacked. If that blood spear was in these unit universes, it could easily pierce through these universes like piercing a piece of paper. It could instantly harvest the blood energy of most of the lives in the universe. All in all, these prize pools could greatly help these children of destiny grow quickly. It wasn't difficult to obtain them. For example, Ying Zheng and Chao Chao could quickly obtain a large number of points by directly developing faith. And for those worlds that were invaded by the God system civilization, they could also obtain a large number of points by searching for information about those gods or killing the descendants of the invading god. In the future, Wang Feng didn't have to personally descend to those worlds that he had already been to. Unless, of course, these children of destiny had been ambushed by the gods. Next, it's up to them. Yellow Maple Valley. Before Han Li finished watching the video, he suddenly heard a commotion in the group. At first, he was very calm and didn't divert his attention. Instead, he slowly watched the video. He only stopped when he finished watching the last moment, which was the video that Fan Yi sent. Then, he was silent for 15 minutes. Ancestor God, Han Li pondered. From the content of the video, it didn't seem fake and didn't seem like it was fake. But it wasn't impossible. If it wasn't fake, then what kind of existence is this ancestor God? Han Li frowned slightly. Among the cultivators that I know, the strongest is only at the deity transformation stage. That is still very far away from me. From the scene in the video, not to mention deity transformation stage, even ascended immortals wouldn't be able to do it. The world that Gui Li is in is obviously a cultivation world that is on par with mine. And that crocodile in Yi Fan's world, with that kind of aura, even a cultivator undergoing tribulation wouldn't be able to survive for more than a few seconds. This ancestor god must be a great character. Han Li touched the storage ring on his finger. It was as if he could feel the temperature of the small green bottle through the ring. In the eyes of this ancestor god, these things shouldn't be worth mentioning. The cultivation world is far more difficult and dangerous than I imagined, Han Li sighed. But for a small character like me, the ancestor god wouldn't be interested in me. Oh right, what is the commotion in the group? As a newcomer, Han Li didn't plan to say anything and just looked at the screen. God Hunt event. Points. These things are too amazing, right? Han Li looked down and fiercely sucked in several mouthfuls of cold air, disregarding the rewards of several 100,000 points. Just the hundreds and thousands of points were a little hard for him to understand. 9 revolution heavenly immortal arts, 12 divine profound scriptures, 36 Heavenly Astral Divine Abilities. These should be cultivation arts and divine abilities that only tribulation transcending cultivators and immortals can cultivate, right? Hanli broke out in cold sweat. He was just a small foundation establishment cultivator. How could these few hundred or thousands points items be so far away from him? In the end, Hanli looked for a long time and finally found a cultivation art that only required 10 points. It seemed to be quite useful to him. The Zenith Net Scripture. And a few materials that only required a few points. Hanli bitterly smiled and shook his head. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. He was too weak. Chapter 1824. After Hanli confirmed his goal, he suddenly discovered a problem. Wait a minute. These things can only be exchanged by becoming a believer of the Ancestor God. I don't seem to be a believer of the Ancestor God right now. Hanli finally came to a realization. After looking at the prize pool for a long time, he had already chosen the items. In the end, he discovered that he didn't even have the qualifications to exchange for them. He broke out in a cold sweat. Great Tao God Summoning Chapter. Hanli muttered to himself for a moment. From what the group said, it seems that I have to chant this scripture. Is it reliable? I'll know once I try it. Regardless of whether it was the chat group, the Ancestor God, the God Hunt event, or the prize pool, Hanli was certain. He would know once he gave it a try. With that thought, Hanli began to chant the scripture in his heart. Almost as soon as he chanted the first sentence, Hanli felt an incomparably vast and imposing shadow, as if it was towering from the vast and boundless sky. The eternal aura caused Hanli's soul to begin to tremble. Is that the Ancestor God? Hanli's spiritual sense trembled. His soul was like a frog that had jumped out of a well, seeing a vast and boundless world. From the light shadow, it felt as if countless years had passed, but also as if it had only been a blink of an eye. Hanli suddenly opened his eyes. A strand of resplendent light shadow streaked across the depths of his eyes. He began to look around, but didn't discover anything. The maple leaves fluttered in the wind, sprinkling down on his head like raindrops before falling down from the depths of his eyes. He looked at the maple leaves in front of him and could clearly see the patterns within. The light shadow in his eyes made him feel as if he had seen an even more profound world. Is that the Ancestor God? Hanli's eyes were dazed, but he discovered that his spiritual sense seemed to have become much more condensed. He was slightly startled. Cultivator's spiritual sense had a special cultivation technique. It wasn't easy to strengthen it. Furthermore, even with a cultivation technique, it would take a long time to cultivate and strengthen one's spiritual sense. I didn't receive a response from the Ancestor God, but just by chanting this scripture, my spiritual sense has become much more condensed. Hanli bitterly smiled. It seemed that everything was true. This scripture was very mystical. The increase in spiritual sense was already comparable to the growth of his cultivation over the years. However, the Ancestor God didn't respond. Perhaps it was because he was too weak that the Ancestor God looked down on him? That's right, I am only a small foundation establishment cultivator, Hanli thought to himself. It seems I have to become stronger. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to obtain the lowest grade item in the prize pool. In the future, he would chant this scripture once every morning, noon, and night, accumulating it over time. I hope that the Ancestor God can sense it. That's right. Judging from the video, if I can offer something as a sacrifice, I should be able to get the Ancestor God to respond. Hanli suddenly thought of this. However, this thing didn't need to be precious or not. The key was that it had to be sincere. That may be the case, but the most precious thing I have right now is the little green bottle. No, this thing is too important to me. Hanli shook his head. He felt that this method wouldn't work. However, if he were to offer something else as a sacrifice, he would not be able to express his sincerity. Han Li could tell from the video, either there were a lot of them or they were extremely important to him. For instance, Ghostly had directly offered up his most important Dharma treasure. That Dharma treasure was nothing to the ancestor god. But to Ghostly it was extremely important. Little green bottle, Han Li began to ponder. The little green bottle was the only thing he could rely on. His talent was ordinary and his aptitude was mediocre. If he didn't rely on the little green bottle to cultivate many extremely old medicinal herbs and exchange them for countless pills and medicines, he wouldn't have been able to reach his current cultivation. But when he thought of this, he couldn't help but think of the video. I'll stake it all. Han Li took a deep breath. So long as he could get the ancestor god's response. The treasures in the reward pool were all within reach for him. Their effects were much greater than the little green bottle. Furthermore, the ancestor god was a protective talisman. This was much more powerful than the little green bottle. As long as he became a believer of the ancestor god, not to mention the cultivation world, even if he wanted to die in the legendary immortal realm, it would be difficult. Han Li knew very well what it meant to have a powerful backer in this cruel cultivation world. Furthermore, from how the ancestor god treated his believers, the benefits couldn't be too great. After making up his mind, Han Li took a deep breath. According to the video, many of the group members had set up the sacrificial altar. He found a desolate forest and immediately set it up. Then, he placed the little green bottle in the center of the altar. In his mind, he chanted the great Tao Spirit Summoning Chapter once more. Because of the little green bottle, Han Li chanted with extra sincerity this time. But this time, after he began to chant, a strange change occurred. A pillar of light suddenly appeared in the center of the altar and spread in all directions. It quickly surrounded the entire Yellow Maple Valley and continued to spread in all directions at an extremely fast speed. Not long after, the entire continent seemed to be enveloped in this mysterious pillar of light. Countless great powers were awakened one after another, but they were at a loss as to what to do with this pillar of light. At this moment, at the center of the altar, the pillar of light rushed into the sky and covered the world. A figure of light then descended. Han Li opened his eyes and revealed a trace of joy. The ancestor god had descended. I have already sensed your wishes. Good. I bestow 100,000 Godhunt points. Believers that have stepped into the Tao will be protected by divine light. If the world collapses and the universe collapses, the body will not perish and the Tao will not disappear. The imposing voice resounded in the depths of Han Li's soul. 100,000 points? Han Li sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that the little green bottle had some value. The ancestor god had bestowed 100,000 points? Or was it his sincerity? Protective divine light? Just as Han Li was thinking this, he saw the silhouette gently blow out a breath of air. A faint light flashed as if a golden crow had fallen to the ground. It landed on Han Li's glabella, sending forth a burst of faint golden ripples that made the entire world tremor. Isn't this protective divine light equivalent to a death exemption medallion? Han Li forcefully suppressed the excitement in his heart. Even if the world bounced and the universe collapsed, it would not be able to harm him. What did this mean? Low profile, 100,000 points? How do I use it? Han Li took a deep breath and discovered that he was unable to restrain his excitement. There were too many good things in the prize pool of the God Hunt event. Let's look at the physique first. Han Li murmured, only by changing my constitution can my cultivation speed increase. Innate Chaos Tao Body. Innate Qi. Innate Chaos Tao Body. Innate Qi. Innate Chaos Tao Body. Innate Qi. Innate Chaos Tao Body. 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 The Fortune Calamity Devil Body is immune to all tribulations and can improve one's luck. Does that mean there will be no heavenly tribulations? Apart from that, the devil body is extremely powerful. There are no restrictions on any cultivation techniques, or divine abilities. It is suitable for cultivating the martial Tao. But it doesn't seem suitable. After searching for a while, I should look for a constitution related to spiritual roots. Han Li thought. Thus, he scrolled down the list of constitution rewards and finally reached it. Heavenly spiritual root. Cultivation speed is 100 times faster than that of a single spiritual root. No bottlenecks. It's this powerful? 100 points? Han Li was stunned. Heavenly spiritual roots, which were fought over by countless sects in the cultivation world, were only worth 100 points. Was it that trash? Han Li broke out in a cold sweat. Chapter 1825. Apart from that, he also saw many mutated spiritual roots, which were very rare in the cultivation world. The points required were very low. In fact, they were relatively strong. Innate 5 elements sacred spiritual root. The 5 elements spiritual roots reinforced and restrained each other, reaching a supreme harmony with all things in the world. Their cultivation speed was 100 times faster than heaven's spiritual root. They were perfectly compatible with any 5 elements cultivation technique, spell technique, and so on. This is only 1,000 points? Han Li looked at his 100,000 points and was at a loss for a moment. This feeling of suddenly becoming rich made him feel at a loss. In the end, Han Li chose the most unique and most expensive type of spiritual root among his many other physique. Chaos spiritual root. The so-called chaos was compatible with all things, surpassing the 5 elements. There were many other attributes that could be perfectly compatible with. Apart from the 5 elements, there are many other mutated attributes that can be cultivated. The speed is 100 times faster than the 5 elements sacred spiritual roots. Also, the constitution has the power of chaos, so the heavenly tribulation will be the lowest, and one's heavenly fate will increase. The most important point. Han Li smiled slightly, as if he was very satisfied with this most important point. It's hard to see the difference with ordinary pseudo-spiritual root. The power of chaos has the ability to deceive the heavens. Even tribulation transcendence experts will find it hard to see the difference. This was very powerful. With such a powerful disguise ability, wouldn't it be great to deal with enemies? He could also maintain a low profile. As for the heavenly fate, it was even more mysterious and unfathomable. To put it simply, people with this kind of spiritual root constitution would have endless good luck. It was the kind of person who could casually jump into the sea with his eyes closed and find a paradise. 10,000 points, very worth it. Let's exchange. Without the slightest hesitation, Han Li exchanged the 10,000 points for the primal chaos spiritual root physique from the group's prize pool. In the chat group, ding. Li Feiyu spent 10 points to exchange 4 chaos spiritual root. Following a crisp mechanical notification in the chat group, the entire group exploded in an instant. Fan Yi, F***CK. 2 She Ancient Emperor Jade, F***CK +1 Can't Betray Me, F***CK? Borrow 10,000 years from the heavens, F***CK? Ghostly, Cold Sweat, JPG. The group was filled with F***CK. Fan Yi, Li Feiyu, what's going on? Are all newcomers so amazing? He had just joined the group not long ago, and the event had just begun, yet he had already earned 10,000 points? What have you done? 10,000 points. The event had just begun? 2 She Ancient Emperor Jade. Sob, that's right. Brother Yen and I have found out about the situation in the Soul Society. They have a very close relationship with the strong martial artists from the alien domain. We haven't reported it yet, and you already have 10,000 points? The world cannot let me down. We can't afford to offend them, we can't afford to offend them. The newcomers these days are too powerful. I've only just started killing some of the invading experts. No, it should be that the ancestral god's prediction was too accurate. There were many invading experts. Fortunately, we were already prepared. Borrow another 10,000 years from the heavens. After the demons, there are indeed demons on our side, but what about these 10,000 points? At this moment, Hanli looked at the messages in the group and felt a bit of joy in his heart, but he didn't say anything. Let's talk about it later. Let's feel this primordial spiritual root first. Han Li took out the primal chaos spiritual root reward from the group chat. In an instant, a faint green light enveloped his entire body. In just a moment, as the azure light faintly appeared, Han Li felt as if his entire body had soaked in a hot spring. It was very comfortable and refreshing. Then there was nothing else. However, the instant he opened his eyes, he felt that the world had changed. He saw countless energy fluctuations. He looked in the direction of Yellow Maple Valley. He was able to easily perceive many different colored energy fluctuations, which seemed to represent different realms. He was able to perceive many of the myriad things in the world. Wait a minute. My cultivation seems to have increased. I'm already at late foundation establishment? Hanli was stunned for a long time. Wasn't I only at early foundation establishment? Wait a minute. It seems I'm almost at golden core? Hanli finally discovered a problem. Countless spiritual chi began to gather in his body at a steady pace. But I don't seem to have cultivated? Hanli felt somewhat frightened. He hadn't cultivated yet, but the spiritual chi seemed to have automatically returned to his body and gathered in his body. Is this the primal chaos spiritual root? Hanli felt somewhat sad. What did I cultivate in the past? He found a pool of water and looked at himself, letting out a sigh of relief. The reflection in the pool of water didn't change much. The primal chaos spiritual root had changed on the inside. It didn't seem to have changed much on the outside. This was exactly what Hanli wanted. This way, others won't be able to see it. So long as I don't cultivate in front of others, it will be fine. Hanli was extremely excited. He knew that the primal chaos spiritual root's use wasn't limited to this. Let's cultivate a spell technique. Hanli condensed a fireball in his hand. The center of the fireball was mixed with a faint azure color. Hanli frowned, feeling that this fireball was different. But he couldn't say what it was. This was only the most common of the 5 elements magic technique. He had used it when he was at chi condensation. Hanli pondered for a moment and threw the fireball. Rumble! In an instant, a huge stream of air directly shattered the forest within a kilometer. It left behind a huge crater. A smoky mushroom cloud rose up in front of him. Hanli. He looked at it with a dumbstruck expression. This power. Isn't it the power of a golden core spell technique? Hanli broke out in a cold sweat. He had only used a chi condensation spell technique. This was definitely due to his constitution. The primal chaos spiritual root seemed to have a powerful amplification effect on these spells. Too powerful, this spiritual root, Hanli muttered to himself after a long silence. The ancestor god is awesome. The ancestral realm. Wang Feng looked at the small green bottle in his hand and fell into deep thought. Master, this reward of yours is simply too good. You're directly giving out 100,000 points? Yan Mengyao was puzzled. If the others in the group saw this, wouldn't they feel that it was unfair? Moreover, is this small green bottle worth so many points? It isn't. Wang Feng shook his head. Then? But. Wang Feng paused. The complete small green bottle is worth about 1,000,000 points. Hearing this, Yan Mengyao was stunned. She was the one who issued the rules for the points. Naturally, she knew the value of each of those rewards. Since her master had given her so many points, there must be a corresponding value. Actually, the value of this small green bottle isn't even worth 10,000 points, let alone 100,000. Wang Feng smiled, but you don't know the origin of this item. This item was the first heavenly profound treasure in the world when the heavenly Tao first appeared in Han Li's universe. It possesses all kinds of inconceivable abilities. It's that powerful? Yan Mengyao was astonished. A supreme treasure at the beginning of the unit universe was a heavenly profound treasure. It was different. It's incomplete? Yan Mengyao asked. Yes, it's incomplete. Wang Feng nodded, so its current abilities are limited. However, your master can repair it. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.